before we begin the first tournament of the year, we want to take a moment to thank Spoolheads. If you're looking to make your own racetracks, or even improve the ones you already have, so that you can have the most epic races with your own vehicles as possible, we definitely recommend checking out Spoolheads. Here you will see a sneak peek of some of the racetrack pieces that they can make just for you. It may take a couple weeks or so to get to you, but I promise you the wait will be worth it. You will see some of the track pieces being used in this tournament. So not only will you get a sneak peek here, but you'll also get to see some of them in action. But now it's time for the first tournament of the year. And it is a mail-in tournament, so thank you to everybody who submitted a racer. In our first group today, the first group for the new tournament, the first one of 2024, we have number 1, Little Fritter, at 3.84 ounces. Number 2, Arlo, 3.71 ounces. And number 3, Bolo Brown, 2.75 ounces. And number 4, Papa Pugsley, at 2.52 ounces. These 4 are ready to go, so let's see what happens. And I don't know about you, but number 3, Bolo Brown, kind of looks like what would happen if Batman Beyond had a bus. I don't know if that's oddly specific, but hey, that's just me. So just for fun, put hashtag BatBus in the comments, because if Batman can have anti-shark repellent, he can have a bus. Right now, though, in this very first race, Little Fritter and Arlo are on one part of the track, whereas Bolo and Papa are in the other half. And now we're getting into the final stretch here, and it looks like Fritter and Arlo are going back and forth. Arlo has a block and is able to get the first win of this tournament so far. Here come the other two, and Bolo finishes in front of Papa Pugsley. By the way, if I ever pronounce one of the names wrong, please feel free to let me know, because the last thing I want to do is mispronounce somebody's name. And they start off with a 16.71. We'll see if that's a good time compared to future races or not. But right now, Arlo gets the first win with Little Fritter right behind him. Now the other two did finish in the back, but things could change depending on which lane that they're in. We've seen that happen before. We'll start off relatively even. Let's see if this split will change things up a bit. Closer to us, we have Pugsley and Fritter. And they go into the second turn. Everyone's just about even. In fact, Arlo is back out in front again, but Fritter is trying to take that lead back. They're all staying relatively close together, but Bolo Brown is falling behind just a little bit. Now Fritter has the lead, and Arlo's actually in third. Papa Pugsley is coming out of nowhere. I think he got the win at the last possible moment. If that's the case, that is a great finish. That just shows that it's never over until it's actually over. This time they finished with a 17.22, so that was a little bit slower. But that definitely helps Papa Pugsley, who finished in last in the first race. So here we go into heat number 3 this time. And now nobody is really out at this point after that finish. Now Pugsley is slightly behind this time, but if he can pull off a comeback like he just did, he'll be just fine. Or she. Right now it's actually Bolo Brown who's out in front, but Fritter's right next to him. And in going into this turn, Bolo's starting to skid a little bit, but he's still keeping up with the other two, and he's trying to keep that alive. And here he goes, staying in second while Arlo takes the win again. And Bolo seems to have trouble staying upright after they finish. But they did get second place, so that definitely helps them. And Arlo finishes in first again, but since they didn't finish in first all 3 times so far, it's not a guaranteed moving on. But they're definitely in a better position than the other 3, who are just about even in points. I think they're about 1 or 2 points off from each other. So who moves on, most likely with Arlo, could heavily depend on where they finish here. Right now, Arlo is slightly in front, it looks like, but those camera angles can be a bit tricky. Bolo is trying to push his way in front, but is struggling to do so. And Furter is trying to catch up to Arlo here. But Arlo is slowly pulling away, going into this final turn where the tracks will merge together. And there's no one to be seen, no one to challenge Arlo, who finishes in first, Bolo in second, Pugsley in third. And let's see, there he is. There's Fritter. I'm actually not sure who's going to be moving on. I'm pretty sure Arlo will be one of them. But based on those finishes, let's see who will be joining them. 16.44, by the way, I believe that is currently the fastest time we've had. But I'm sure we'll see faster at some point. It'll be Pugsley moving on with Arlo. So those two will be moving on into the final race. Let's see who the second group is. At number 5, we have Black Skull, 1.29 ounces. Cool name, by the way. Number 6, Chase Family, 2.7 ounces. At number 7, Puff, 2.82 ounces. And number 8, Danny MG, 3.5 ounces. Oh, Daniel MG. Okay, maybe I missed the L the first time, but Daniel MG at number 8. So I'm loving the designs on some of these vehicles. Thank you to everyone who submitted one. Let's see how this fares out. Right now, it is the Chase family who is out in front with Black Skull right behind them. But Chase family is quickly pulling away. No one else is even on camera at the moment. The other three are trying to catch up. Chase family skids a little bit, but they manage to re-straighten themselves out. And they go into this first win without much of a problem at all. And here comes Black Skull finishing in second. And the other two, Puff blocked Daniel and allowed themselves to finish in third at least, while Daniel MG finishes in fourth. But maybe Daniel MG will have an opportunity like Papa Pugsley and make an incredible comeback. Right now, though, Chase family now has the fastest time with 15.86. So this is definitely ramping up a bit. It's definitely interesting to see how this track plays out, because for the most part, it's basically a 1v1 on two separate parts of the track, and then they merge near the end, and that could immediately switch things up in an unexpected way. Right now, Chase family's out in front again, but now it's Daniel MG trying to make up that ground. Like I said, just like with Papa Pugsley, anything can happen. They can make an incredible comeback. And here he comes. Chase family's trying to hold on to that lead. It looks like they will. And they do. And who finishes in second? This time it's Daniel MG, with Black Skull finishing in third and Puff in fourth. If this keeps up, who knows who'll move on. But Chase family is definitely putting themselves in a good position already with 2 wins under their belt. If they get one more, they will automatically move on to the final group race of today. But for the other 3, it is a very tough competition. They are trying to knock out Chase family, if nothing else, so that they can keep their hopes alive, or at least keep their odds higher of moving on. In this third race, though, Chase family is once again out in front. But here comes Puff this time. Although that turn may have killed a little bit of their speed. We've seen in previous tournaments that wide turns can make all the difference in a race, even at the last moment. But here comes Chase family. No one is anywhere near them. And they finish in first once again, kind of skidding sideways and flipping towards the end. And we have a 3-way traffic jam at the finish line. I want to say Black Skull finished in second, Puff possibly in third? I'm not entirely sure, but we do know that the Chase family is automatically going to move on. It was Black Skull in second, Puff in third, and Daniel MG in fourth. So the Chase family is automatically going to move on And Black Skull, I believe, currently has the better odds of the other three. But given the point differentiation, it's not guaranteed. Chase Family is now just trying to get a sweep at this point. And based on their performance so far, it looks like they might. Because right now, they're going towards the final stretch and no one is even in sight. We barely get glimpses of the other races, and Chase Family decides to go backwards and finishes off by showing off a little bit. But here comes Daniel MG. And then Puff in third and Black Skull in fourth. That could make all the difference. Did Daniel MG get the second spot and join Chase Family in today's finals? All these different finishes for all these racers. But it's actually Black Skull that will be moving on. A valiant effort by the other racers. We're sorry your racer did not win, but it was definitely a valiant effort. Very close on all accounts. But here we go into this final group. We have Arlo, Papa Pugsley, Black Skull, and Chase Family. Right now, Chase Family is the only racer here who has not lost a race. Arlo got very close, but Chase Family is the only one to have officially done it so far, and they already have the lead once again. Will any of these other racers be able to catch them? It actually looked like Black Skull was slowing down significantly. I don't know if they're going to finish. But Chase Family does finish in first yet again, with Arlo not too far behind them. And here comes Pugsley. Did Black Skull finish, or are they going to? No, they got stuck up there. This is definitely not what they want, I'm sure. But Chase Family has been shown to finish under 16 seconds, and they got very close that time around. Now, Papa Pugsley finished in third, but they've been shown that they can make comebacks. And we also want to let you know that it'll be the top two moving on from today's finals, and not just the person who finishes in first overall. So even if you don't get the highest amount of points today, that doesn't mean you're completely out. If you at least finish in second, you still have a shot to win the whole thing. It's still looking very good for the Chase Family though, as they are still out in front. The closest person to them, I believe, is Arlo, but even then, they can barely be seen on the track. And here comes Chase Family down the hill towards the finish line, gets another win. And here comes Arlo, finishing in second yet again. Pugsley in third, and Black Skull manages to finish this time. Definitely improvement already. Let's see if they can pull another big comeback out of nowhere. And there we go. I think that is the new fastest time, with a 15.55. If the Chase Family wins again, they will once again automatically move on and have a chance at a complete sweep and be totally undefeated up to this point. Right now, Black Skull has a lot of motivation to make this incredible comeback, and they are keeping up with Chase Family currently, but Chase Family is somehow increasing their speed, getting a decent-sized lead. Black Skull is holding on to second place from what I can tell, and Chase Family is going down this stretch while the other three are just getting around that turn back there. Going into this final turn now, back down the hill. Chase Family is once again finishing backwards, likely just to show off, but they want to be careful in doing that in the future. We've seen people show off and it costs them greatly. But they do finish in first again, so they will automatically move on. Let's see who the second racer will be that will join them. And even with going backwards, they still finished under 16 seconds. Arlo did finish in second again, so it's likely going to be Chase Family and Arlo. But Pugsley or maybe Black Skull can pull something off incredible that we just don't expect. Previous tournaments have shown me not to count anybody out until it's officially over. Chase Family already has a decent-sized lead, but Arlo is trying to keep up with them. And it looked like they were for a second, but here comes Papa Pugsley. The other three are keeping relatively close together. Chase Family hops just a little bit, but that didn't seem to slow them down all that much. Here they come into this final stretch. Once again, no one is anywhere near them. Can they stay straight? Finish in first? They do! They can't seem to get a steady landing as they cross the finish line. But Black Skull finishes in third ahead of Pugsley. So they definitely were getting better as the races progressed. But it looks like it will be Chase Family, who is now undefeated, and Arlo moving on. Just the first day of races and we already have an undefeated racer. Chase Family and Arlo, congratulations. Thank you to everybody else who submitted a car. And we hope to see you all in the next day. It's another fine day for racing, and here's the second day for our mail-in tournament. At number 9, we have El Macho at 1.46 ounces. Number 10, Sneaky Bob _ 5, 2.72 ounces. Number 11, Numbskull, 3.98 ounces. And then number 12, Speedball Herman, 3.94 ounces. These four look ready to go, so let's see what happens. And the first race of today is underway. Numbskull is taking an early lead, Speedball is right behind him, and then Sneaky Bob is right behind him. El Macho is quickly falling behind. And here we go into the second turn. It looks like Numbskull is holding onto that lead, but Sneaky Bob is right on his tail. They are relatively neck and neck. It's hard to tell when they're separated, but we'll see when we get back to the center here, and Numbskull does have the lead, and he takes the first win of the day. Sneaky Bob finishes in second. Speedball finishes backwards, and where is El Macho? Oh, there he is. Yeah, despite the name, El Macho doesn't seem to be doing well so far, but we've seen some bigger comebacks already, so don't count El Macho out yet. And a 14.53, I think that's almost a whole second faster than our fastest time, which was held by, I believe, Chase Family, with about a 15.25. If I am incorrect about that, let me know in the comments below, because I may be forgetting one. But Numbskull does take the first win, which kind of surprises me. That design doesn't look too aerodynamic, but maybe I just don't know my science very well. Here we go into this third race. Once again, the other three are taking off while El Macho quickly is falling behind. Numbskull does have a little bit of a lead, but as I say that, Sneaky Bob comes out of nowhere, tries to take the lead from him, succeeds in doing so, and Numbskull is trying to catch back up. Will he be able to, though, is the ultimate question. But Speedball's no slouch either. You can still see him approaching. But yeah, Sneaky Bob does manage to take that win away from Numbskull, keeping him from getting a sweep. And here comes El Macho again. I think he can still technically pull something off here, but he will need to get his act together now. Otherwise, his career in this tournament may be cut a little short. And definitely not a place he wants to be right now. But yeah, now Numbskull and Sneaky Bob are both tied with 8, so let's see how this third race goes. We'll probably get a tiebreaker, although we have had previous tournaments where two racers finished at the exact same time. So that could definitely be a possibility here. At the start of this race, though, Numbskull does have a bit of a lead, but Sneaky Bob is not too far behind. They get into the lane mergers here. Numbskull once again is holding on to the lead, but that doesn't mean he'll keep it. Although he does have a decent bit of a distance between him and second place, so as long as he can stay straight, he should be fine. Yep, Numbskull finishes in first, and Speedball finishes in second this time. And here comes Sneaky, finishing in third, and El Macho actually didn't finish that time. It looked like he was going to, and then he just came to a stop as he approached that last little hump there. But it looked like he was doing well. He was keeping up with Sneaky Bob at the very least. at least to some degree. Sneaky Bob did lose a lot of speed by sliding sideways there. And then El Macho did something similar, but because of that loss of speed where he had it, he wasn't able to finish. So it looks like El Macho is likely not going to be able to go much further. So apologies to whoever sent in El Macho, but know that they put in a valiant effort, and they didn't give up, because they're still racing now. Meanwhile, Numbskull and Sneaky Bob are neck and neck as they get into this lane merger, but Numbskull cut Sneaky Bob off, causing Sneaky Bob to lose a lot of their momentum, and now Numbskull has a much bigger lead that they're trying to hold on to, and they get that first place win, so Numbskull will be moving on, and I think Sneaky Bob will be joining him. But let's see what happens with Speedball. Is El Macho going to finish this time? Yeah, with some decent speed, too. So props to El Macho for finishing, despite the odds being stacked completely against them. Yeah, Numbskull, I believe, has the fastest time now. Valiant effort. But unfortunately, it'll be El Macho out, along with Speedball, and Sneaky Bob and Numbskull will be moving on. Here comes the second group now. At number 14, Button Boys Racing, 2.17 ounces. Number 15, Boondocks, 2.47 ounces. Number 16, Flip, 3.5 ounces. Number 17, Craigster Sr., 3.95 ounces. Not sure what's going on with the guy on the side of that vehicle, but apparently there's a smell or something that he does not like. Right at the start of the race, though, Flip gains an early lead, and Craigster is right behind him. And they're in the same part of the track, so let's see if they have a collision. It doesn't look like they will, because Flip has a big enough of a lead. But the other two are staying relatively close together. In fact, it looked like Craigster was joining them. Now Flip has a bit of a lead as they approach this final stretch here, going into that middle area. And Flip seems to have a little bit of a struggle keeping straight immediately around the turn, but is able to correct himself and gets that first win. And I think it was Craigster in second. Yeah, Boondocks finished in fourth. But he seemed to at least keep up with the group a little bit. And Button Boys Racing finished in third. Sometimes it just depends on what lane you're in. So let's see if that changes anything here. So Flip did get the first win, so he's the one that has a chance at a sweep and possibly staying undefeated. So far we've already had one racer do that. So maybe we'll get a second one today. And Flip does already have a decent-sized lead again. Meanwhile, Craigster and Button Boys are staying relatively close together. I didn't see Boondocks initially, but maybe I'm just missing him. But Flip finishes in first yet again, so he's keeping the sweep chances alive here. And here comes Boondocks. Let's see what time they had. It was a 15.16. That is pretty good, I think. No, that's not the fastest time. The fastest time was earlier, in the 14-second area. But now Flip has 2 wins, so if he gets another one, he will automatically move on. So we start the third race here. Flip just seems to be good at getting an early start, which is sometimes all you need in order to get the win. If you start off strong, then you can do pretty well the rest of the way, at least usually. Sometimes they do slip up, but so far Flip hasn't been doing that. Getting into the final stretch, no one anywhere near him. And he finishes now. We'll see the clock in a second. Oh, look at that! Button Boys Racing was keeping Craigster from finishing in second by doing a bit of a nose block. That is a popular technique used in these tournaments, and Button Boys pulled it off effectively. Yeah, they went back and forth a little bit, but Button Boys saw that Crexter was catching up, so he kept his nose in front and got the second place finish. And Flip does get 3 wins, so he's automatically moving on and keeping his undefeated streak alive so far. And I think he also got the fastest time. But I could be wrong there. Right now, though, Flip already has a lead. He's trying to keep his streak alive. And so far, it looks like he'll be able to do that unless he slips up, or in his case, flips out. I know that was a terrible joke, but hey. He's keeping everybody else off camera as he approaches the finish line yet again. Almost kind of skids sideways there, but corrects himself and goes over the finish mat. We're going to have to check if he has any injuries, because that looked painful. But Crexter finished in second this time. Button Boys in third. And here comes Boondocks finishing once again. Just like Macho, props to him for finishing despite his odds consistently decreasing. I was about to say declining, but I'm not sure if that was the right word. I mean, those two seem to have something out for each other, because they kept going back and forth there. I want to say Crexter was moving on, but we'll have to see the point totals in a second. Yep, it'll be Crexter that is joining the currently undefeated Flip. So here we go into these finals, where we see Flip, Numbskull, Crexter Sr., and Sneaky Bob. So far, Flip is the only person to have not lost a race yet. But as we've seen, these other 3 racers are no slouches. So that streak could end sometime in these next 4. But yeah, Numbskull is keeping up with Flip here, so that could very well happen at some point. Numbskull's trying to overtake him. Flip actually spins around, but Numbskull decides to show good sportsmanship and spins him back so he's facing forward. But Sneaky Bob tries to get the win from him, but I don't think he actually pulled it off. It was close. But I think Flip still got the win in the end. But he did finish a little bit slower because he was skidding sideways a bit. Meanwhile, Crexter finishes in 4th, but I'm sure he can pull something off here. So here we go into the second race. Yeah, all 4 racers here are very valiant racers. Is valiant the right word? I'll have to look that up later, just to be sure. For now, though, let's get back to it. Each pair is staying relatively close together. Flip and Sneaky Bob are going after each other. Sneaky Bob is currently behind him, but here comes Numbskull. Flip is trying to keep that lead. He starts to fishtail again. He is able to correct himself this time. Going into the final stretch, here comes Numbskull. And Numbskull actually ends that streak. We will not have another undefeated racer today. Crexter finishes in 4th, but lands back on his feet. It looked like Flip had it, but a couple times he lost a little bit of control. So he wasn't able to keep that streak going, and Numbskull got that win. So far, Flip still has the lead in points, but as we know now, it'll be the top 2 that'll advance after these finals. Usually it's just 1, but so far, in this tournament, it'll be the top 2 racers, which would be good for anyone who might have just barely missed the cut otherwise. Here we go into this stretch here, and Numbskull's trying to keep up with Flip again, and it looks like he almost passed him, but Flip kept him from doing it this time. As we get into this final stretch, though, Flip keeps fishtailing and skidding a bit, but this time it worked to his advantage as he blocked Numbskull from passing him. Crexter actually kind of glided across the finish line that time. Even though he finished in last, that may have been one of the smoothest finishes I've ever seen. Even if he did land upside down. And so far, things are looking up for Flip and Numbskull. But if anyone can grab one of those spots still, it's likely to be Sneaky Bob. Yeah, all four are staying relatively close together, but as we get into the track separation here, Flip has a slight lead, but here comes Numbskull. Is he going to be able to pass him? No, I think he either clipped one of the other racers or clipped the end of the track there, and lost some speed. But now Sneaky Bob is trying to catch up to Flip, but Numbskull has a burst of speed out of nowhere and pushes Flip forward, where he gains another win. Numbskull finishes in second, Sneaky in third, and Craigshirt in fourth. So I believe it'll be Flip and Numbskull moving on this time. And I think it was Flip who had the fastest time now. Yep, Flip and Numbskull. Flip almost was our second undefeated racer, but it was denied. So we still only have one so far. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day number 3 of the Races and Fun Mail-In Tournament. Let's go ahead and meet the first group for today. At number 18, Killa Kowalski, 3.19 ounces. Number 72, Stump Grinding, 1.42 ounces. Number 22, Dusty Miles, 3.84 ounces. And number 23, J-Bo at 2.97 ounces. All 4 racers look ready to go, so let's see what happens. And here we go. Very quickly, it looks like Killa Kowalski and Dusty Miles take a small lead, but let's see what happens as we go around these turns. It looks like Kowalski is taking a bit of a lead. As we get into this merger, that is even more apparent, because he's leaving all the other 3 in the dust right now. This seems to be a common thread, where one racer seems to pull out in front of the other 3 and stay there for the most part. He does kind of swing around a little bit, but it's not enough to deny him a first place finish, followed soon after by Dusty. And then in third will be, it looks like it'll be J-Bo. And then Stump Grinding does not appear to finish this time. They seem to have gotten stuck after that turn. We've seen multiple times before where somebody, right after a turn, will lose so much speed that they just cannot progress any further forward. And Killa Kowalski almost got the fastest time. They were just off by 3/100ths of a second. Currently, the fastest time we've had is a 14.35, which is currently held by Flip from day number 2's races. But Killa Kowalski got very close, so I would not be surprised if he pulls something off here. Right as the second race begins, once again Killa and Dusty are out in front. As we get into this split, is Kowalski going to take a bigger lead? So far it looks like he might. And he will. He's taking that lead once again. Dusty is trying to keep up with him, but so far is struggling to do so. And the other 2 are currently nowhere to be seen. Killa Kowalski goes into this final stretch, starts to drift a little bit, but doesn't lose that much speed at all and finishes in first yet again. Dusty finishes in second once again, so they are at least being consistent. And J-Bo, I think, ended up finishing in last as Stump Grinding picks up just enough speed to pass him at the last moment. That is definitely something Stump needed after not finishing at all in the previous race. So this could spell the start of a great comeback for him. We've seen some big comebacks before, so I wouldn't be surprised if it happens now. As it stands right now, though, Killa Kowalski just needs one more win in order to seal a spot in the finals. He already has a slight lead. It almost looked like he started to tip over a little bit, but he regained his composure, and around that first turn, it looks like Dusty's actually keeping up with him this time. Let's see if he can pass him. Not quite, but he is a little bit closer. He's trying to make up any sort of ground that he can, but Killa Kowalski has just been so consistent so far. But wait, here comes Dusty. Oh, but after that turn, he lost just enough speed. He tried to catch up at the last second, especially after Killa started drifting again, but it just wasn't enough, and Killa is guaranteed to be in today's finals. It's still looking pretty good for Dusty, and Stump, meanwhile, finishes in last, but at least he finished. even if you finish in last, it's certainly better than not finishing at all. So keep your head held high. By the way, everybody, I apologize in advance if my sound comes across a little different. I recently moved, actually, so I had to shift some things around. But I'll try to improve it as time goes on. As we get into this last race, though, it's looking pretty good for Dusty, but because he didn't officially seal a spot yet, it's not technically guaranteed that he will join Killa in the finals. The odds are still pretty good, but you never want to count anybody out. Killa does struggle a little bit to get around that turn, but he's just so focused that even when he starts drifting a little bit, almost immediately gets recentered, gets right back into it. And they get into this last stretch and finish in first yet again. So far they do have a sweep. So far we've seen some racers get sweeps, but only one so far has been completely undefeated, and that distinction goes to the Chase family from day number 1. They used to have the fastest time as well, but that was overtaken by Flip, who almost was undefeated but got denied. So far Chase is the only one undefeated. Flip has the fastest time. So let's see if either one of those are taken today. Right now though, Killa and Dusty will be moving on. Let's see who will join them in the second group, which has number 25, Jesse the Taurus, at 1.16 ounces. Number 26, Papa, at 1.87 ounces. Number 66, Eric Hovland, 1.15 ounces. And number 28, Wes Cozen, 3.29 ounces. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if for whatever reason I end up mispronouncing a racer's name, please feel free to let me know how to properly pronounce it so I can do it justice in future videos. As we begin this race so far, it looks like it is Wes and Papa that are out in front, although they don't seem to be moving too fast around that corner. And so far though, Papa is out in front, Wes closing right behind him, but here come the other two. Papa is trying to hold on to a lead, but he almost went sideways there, and it looks like Wes might have taken advantage of that. He did, and he takes the lead, but he starts spinning around, and Papa overtakes him again. And Papa ends up finishing in first, Wes in second, and Jesse almost caught him. But they finish in third, and in third, and Eric finished in fourth. And look at these times, 18.49. Some of the other racers were finishing about 4 seconds faster than that. So whoever moves on, they really do need to step up their game, because they could be in trouble when they get to the finals. Granted, they were drifting a little bit, which can cost precious time and speed. So maybe they can finish better if they stay perfectly straight for most of the race. Right now, though, in race number 2, Wes has a slight lead, but Papa is not too far behind him. In fact, Jesse and Eric aren't too far behind them. Wes has a slight lead. He seems to be wobbling a little bit, but straightens out as he gets through that turn. Papa's not too far behind him, though, as we get into this final stretch, and Wes lost so much speed, but so did Papa. And because of that, Wes was able to keep that lead and finish in first still. And Papa spins around as he gets through the finish line. And there goes Eric finishing in third. And Jesse is somewhere back on the track. Did not have the speed to get around that final turn, apparently. They finished in third, but that certainly doesn't help if you only do that once and then you just don't finish after that. 17.67. They really got to amp up their speed if they want to have any promising finishes in the finals. But so far, there are no sweeps that will be had in this group. So out of all the racers today, the only one that can finish undefeated is Killa Kowalski. You get into the second turn, Papa is out in front again. But here comes Wes trying to take the lead, and both of them each have a racer not too far behind them. So this could be interesting. Wes is going back and forth with Papa as they get into this next turn here. Is anyone going to lose a bit of speed? It looks like Wes will, and Papa is taking full advantage, getting into this final turn. And as long as Papa stays straight, he will finish in first, and he does. Wes finishes in second this time. Eric in third, and Jesse does not finish again. And this time they somehow managed to get themselves sideways, going end to end with as wide as that track is. I'm not sure how that happened, but it did. It is not looking good for Jesse. But even the ones who are finishing in first, it's not too promising if you're finishing in the 17 and 18 second marks. But hey, maybe they'll surprise us in the finals, which looks like will be filled by Papa and Wes, but we will see. Right now, Jesse's trying to redeem himself and is keeping up with Wes, while Papa is trying to take a lead while those two are distracted. Getting around this turn, Papa is trying to hold on to something, but he's just not moving that fast. So he could be stuck on one of these turns, and one of those other racers could take advantage, and it looks like one of the racers, I couldn't quite tell who, got stuck going downhill. Papa is trying to stay in first, but here comes Wes. Will he be able to overtake him? No! It'll remain Papa finishing in first, who finished in first all but once. And Jesse just barely missed the finish, did not quite get there. And Eric didn't finish either. I am sure that's not quite how either one of them wanted to finish their last race in this tournament, but especially being so close to the finish and not actually doing so, that must be painful. So my apologies to whoever submitted that one. But rest assured they finished in a cool fashion even if they didn't cross the line. But it'll be Papa and Wes moving on to the finals, so let's see what happens now. I don't want to count anybody out so far, but Killa and Dusty seem to be the faster of the pairs. And Killa is the only person to have finished in first every time so far. So if they can do that again here, then they will be the second undefeated racer that'll show up in the grand finals, alongside Chase family, at least up to this point. But Chase and Dusty are actually out in front, but I'm sorry, not Chase, Killa. Killa is out in front, but Dusty not too far behind them, but Killa once again finishes in first. That is the fifth one in a row, and they finish with a 14.65. Here comes Papa in third, and Wes in fourth. Killa is certainly living up to their name right now, and Dusty is leaving the other two in the dust. But Killa just needs 3 more races, and he will be the next undefeated racer so far. Right now, though, he hasn't been able to get the fastest time. He was very close earlier, but it's still technically held by Flip right now. Getting into this first turn, Killa slingshots himself a little bit, and here comes Dusty trying to catch him. We get into this second turn, but Killa just keeps launching himself forward, which is something you really need to do, especially against some of the other racers who lose speed as they go around turns. If you can navigate those turns, you are in a very good position, and Killa ends up hitting the wall a little bit and spins around, but stays straight and finishes in first yet again, allowing him to keep his dream alive of being an undefeated champion. Meanwhile, Dusty finishes in second, Wes finishes in third, and it looks like Papa will not finish. Yeah, he just did not have the speed this time to get around that turn. It makes you wonder. But Killa's finishing with a 15.04 this time. We know he's capable of getting the fastest time, it's just not happening right now. But he did finish in first yet again, so he just needs 1 to guarantee his moving on, and then 2 to stay undefeated. And it's looking very promising for him right now. Him and Dusty have been incredibly consistent this whole time. Killa always finishing in first and Dusty finishing in second every time. Which right now is okay, because the top 2 racers will be moving on to the grand finals. But Killa once again has a decent sized lead. No one is able to catch him, but if he starts spinning around, someone else might be able to take advantage of that. And he actually does go sideways, loses a bit of speed, but his lead is big enough that it just doesn't matter. And Dusty finishes in second yet again. There goes Wes. And Papa is actually able to finish this time. Once again, maybe finishing in last, but it's certainly better than not finishing at all. And I have a feeling that if Killa didn't spend so much time going sideways in that one section, he might have had the fastest time. But he's already got a spot in the finals, and he just needs 1 more race to be undefeated and join Chase family, bringing the total up to 2. Let's see what happens in this final race. Killa Kowalski already has a slight lead, but Dust isn't too far behind him. This usually ends up changing, and there goes Killa. Each turn can either help you go faster or really hinder your speed. And so far, Killa seems to handle them really well. And as he goes into that final stretch, hoping to stay undefeated, no one is anywhere near him, goes backwards again, but he does it. Killa Kowalski is the second racer in this tournament to stay undefeated. Didn't quite get the fastest time, but we've seen that he's capable of getting it. And he definitely was showing off a little bit near the end, but again, you don't want to do that too much because it could cost you later. Papa and Wes put up a valiant effort, but unfortunately it was not enough. Killa and Dusty will be moving on to the grand finals alongside Chase, Arlo, Flip, and Numbskull. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next set of races. We are close to the halfway point, I believe, but right now we have day number 4 of the Races and Fun Mail-In Tournament. Hello everybody and welcome once again. Let's meet our first group for today. Number 29, Blue Line Racing, 3.98 ounces. Number 30, Bayou City Bandit, 3.62 ounces. Number 31, Hollywood Harmeyer, 1.91 ounces. And number 32, TVG Speedster, 1.15 ounces. That Hollywood vehicle doesn't seem to be the most aerodynamic, and it might be a little top heavy. But I could be proven wrong, we'll have to see. Right now it looks like Blue Line and Bayou are the ones taking the early lead. And Blue Line is suddenly way out in front, no one anywhere close. They do hop around a little bit, but they're keeping their composure, and they keep that lead going, seemingly expanding it as the race progresses. And we saw a brief glimpse of Bayou, but Blue Line quickly finishes in first. Let's see if they got the fastest time, which is currently 4.35. They did! Not only did they get the fastest time so far, they broke 14 seconds. Right off the bat, we have a new record holder. Blue Line Racing finishing with a 13.99, the closest you can get to 14 seconds without actually hitting it. But somebody finally did it. I figured somebody would. But on the first race of the day, that is very promising for Blue Line. Meanwhile, Hollywood finishes just in fourth with Speedster right in front of them. It's already looking good for Blue Line and possibly Bayou. We'll see how these next races do for them. Yeah, Hollywood seems to start out okay, but it might just be the way that stuff is sitting on top of their vehicle that's really affecting how they can race. Blue Line, meanwhile, is way out in front again, and it's hard to comment on the other three when you can't even see them. Blue Line is kind of going off the walls a little bit, which is something you want to try and avoid for the most part. But Blue Line has just had a big lead so far that it doesn't really matter. And here comes Bayou. They spun around a little bit, but they still managed to finish in second again. Speedster in third, and where is Hollywood? Looks like they did not finish, and they actually tipped over. We're gonna have to make sure they're okay, because if you crash and fall over, or spin out, or whatever happens, we gotta make sure you're okay so that you can continue racing. But I feel like whatever that is sitting on top of their vehicle is partially causing that, if not entirely. But that certainly does not help them. Meanwhile, Blue Line has 2 wins, and they just need 1 more to solidify a spot in today's finals. And Bayou's looking pretty good so far. Let's see if that holds true for the rest of the time. And it looks like, is that Blue Line again? It looks like it is. Bayou's trying to keep up, but so far struggling to do so. Getting into that next stretch there, it looks like the gap just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Blue Line going into the final stretch, bouncing off the walls a little bit, spinning around, going backwards. But the lead, once again, is just big enough that nobody can catch them. And Bayou finishes in second. Here comes Speedster and Hollywood. Do they finish this time? They do. And they managed to stay on their feet. That is a massive improvement compared to the last 2. A 14.91. That is a little bit slower, but that may just be because they were bouncing off the walls and spinning a little bit. But they already hold the fastest time, so they don't have much to worry about right now. But they already have 3 wins. They've solidified a spot in the finals, and they just need 1 more to get the sweep and keep the possibility going to be our 3rd undefeated racer. So far we've gotten 2, that being Chase Family from day 1 and Killa Kowalski from day 3. And Blue Line just needs 1 more race to keep that chance alive to join them. And so far it looks like it will happen, because each time they finished, all the other racers have been at least a few seconds behind them. Final stretch, once again, no one near them. Bouncing off the wall slightly, but they managed to stay straight this time. And they finish with a 14.29. That's definitely some of the faster times we've seen today. So it's looking pretty good for Blue Line. Here comes Speedster just crossing the finish. And it doesn't look like Hollywood finished this time. Let's see where they ended up. Trying to find them. So far unable to... Oh, wait, there they are. It looks like they didn't have the speed, and that decoration, or whatever that is on the top, just kept them from moving any further forward, and they just tipped over. I will say they may have not had the best performance, but they definitely had one of the fancier designs I've ever seen in these tournaments. So if it's any consolation, I definitely love the design, even if it wasn't the most optimal for a race. For now though, Blue Line Racing and Bayou City Bandit will move on, and Blue Line already has a sweep. Let's see if they can get the rest later. But for now in the second group, 33, Matt McNear, 3.38 ounces. 34, Try Again Man, 1.29 ounces. Number 35, The People's Champion, 1.76 ounces. And number 36, Sarmiento, 2.02 ounces. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, if I mispronounce a name, let me know in the comments and tell me how to properly pronounce it so I can do them justice. As the second group begins, it looks like Sarmiento has a lead, while the People's Champion is not too far behind. And it looked to be a little bit closer than the last group was. But as they get into the second turn, let's see what happens. Looks like Sarmiento has a lead, but they're spinning sideways. They get a little loose, but they manage to catch themselves a little bit. But here comes the People's Champion, trying to pass them, but Sarmiento is not letting them. They get into this final stretch. Will the People's Champion be able to catch him? Sarmiento loses so much speed, and the People's Champion takes advantage of it and gets the first win. Meanwhile, Matt McNear and Try Again Man finish in 3rd and 4th respectively. Now it looks like just like the last day's racers, the second group doesn't necessarily have speed on their side, but they did lose a lot of it as they went down the track, so they could pull off some much faster times if they can stay straight. Right now the People's Champion has the first win. It looks like Sarmiento might be able to keep them from getting a sweep though. But obviously we'll have to see as these races progress, because we've definitely seen some crazy events happen. Let's see if Sarmiento can go back to the future here. Because I'm pretty sure that's a DeLorean. I don't know my cars very well. But I'm pretty sure that's what that is. I could very well be wrong though. Sarmiento loses so much speed as I say that. They're just going sideways and they come to a near stop there. And this time it's the People's Champion trying to pass Try Again Man, who finishes in 1st this time. And the People's Champion is trying to get to the finish and he doesn't do it. Meanwhile, here comes... who is that? Oh, wow. It looked like Try Again Man was going to be the only person to finish, but somehow the other 3 managed to pull it off. The People's Champion pretty much came to a stop right at the finish. It looks like Matt was able to finish... excuse me, push the DeLorean forward enough to the point where they could all finish. Even if that's not the most pleasant way to do so, I gotta give them props for good sportsmanship, allowing each racer to finish even if they were stuck initially. That's the kind of racing I want to see. So here we go into this 3rd race, and it looks like Sarmiento is right in front, but the People's Champion is right behind him here. Sarmiento just has so much trouble maintaining speed, and so far he's been able to keep the People's Champion behind him by blocking him. But the People's Champion is just looking for any window to take him. And so far that hasn't happened. And he loses momentum each time, and he goes sideways while Sarmiento gets to the finish in 1st. And Try Again Man helps the People's Champion finish in... now it's just... it looks like Matt finishing in 4th. But you gotta give props to these racers. Sometimes you see some nasty play. But these 4 have been helping each other finish as best as they can. That is the kind of racing I love, where even if you're competing against somebody, you still want to help them if possible. This is one of the nicest group of racers I've ever seen, and that definitely means something. But these racers have been going so back and forth. It's hard to tell what's going to happen at this point. Sarmiento once again has that lead. But if he loses any speed, we've got at least 2 racers right on his tail going into this next turn. So far he's staying straight, but he is bouncing off the walls a little bit. And here comes a People's Champion who didn't lose as much speed going around that turn, so he has the lead now going into that last turn. And in that final stretch, no one is anywhere near champion. And he finishes in 1st. Who will finish in 2nd though? It looks like it will be Sarmiento. And Try Again Man finishes in 1st, and here comes Matt again. I think they all managed to finish each time, which in part is thanks due to their working together. I'm not entirely sure actually who will be moving on this time around. Usually it's a little bit clearer, but not so much here. It looks like it'll be Sarmiento and People's Champion, but a valiant effort and great teamwork by the others. Here we go into the finals though. Blue Line Racing is definitely the one to keep an eye on. because so far they have not lost a race. So far we've had 2 undefeated racers, and Blue Line Racing could very well be the 3rd. Let's see how Bayou holds up against the other 2, though. In races like these, it looks like some of the biggest things of importance is to keep straight and not lose speed around those turns. And both of those things can happen if you're not careful. But Blue Line finishes in first already. Who's going to finish in second? Oh, it looked like it was going to be Sarmiento, but Bayou manages to take the second place spot at the last moment. And Blue Line almost breaks 14 seconds yet again. Just barely falling shy of it. But Sarmiento trying to block Bayou from taking the second place spot. Sarmiento seems to, at the very least, have some idea of how to block racers from passing him, but sometimes it doesn't always work. But maybe they can take that knowledge and use it in the future. In race number 2, Blue Line is still undefeated, and they take an early lead going into that first stretch. And they just take off. Some racers lose speed going into these turns, but Blue Line, it looks like they actually go faster. And they're managing to keep straight. They don't bounce off the walls too much. But as I say that, they suddenly go sideways, and they lose almost all their speed going into that last stretch. Can somebody catch him? It doesn't look like it'll happen, and Blue Line still manages to finish in first after all that. That just shows how good of a racer they are, where even if they slow down a lot, they can still regain their composure and finish in first. Meanwhile, Sarmiento finishes in second this time, so Bayou and Sarmiento are tied for second place right now. So anything can happen, really. I thought it was going to be more clear-cut, but I guess not. Blue Line just needs one more race, though, finishing in first in order to move on. Even if they don't do well in the 4th race, if they finish first here, they will automatically move on. It almost looks like half of their car kind of tilted and left the ground. But even then, they still are holding on to that lead. They went backwards, almost went sideways again, but they still finished with a decent time in first place, so they will be moving on. And now, Sarmiento finishes in second again, while Bayou finishes in third. So Bayou is now in a hot seat. In order for them to move on, they will need to finish in front of Sarmiento this time. It is an absolute must if they want to have a chance to join Blue Line in the grand finals. But we will see how this last race goes. It's been so back and forth between Sarmiento and Bayou that either one of them could move on. However, I will say this. With Blue Line finishing in first, if that happens again, and then Bayou finishes in second and Sarmiento in third, we will have a tiebreaker, which doesn't happen too often, but it could happen here. But in order for that to happen, Bayou needs to finish in front of Sarmiento. And it's hard to tell because they're just so far back. And Blue Line manages to stay undefeated. He will be the 3rd racer to do so. And ladies and gentlemen, we will have a tiebreaker. We now have 3 undefeated racers. And we will have a tiebreaker to see who will join Blue Line in today's finals to move on to the grand finals. Now, I believe the way this will work in a tiebreaker is they will race twice, and whoever has the fastest time overall will be the one moving on. So if you get the fastest time in the first race, but then you finish in second in the second race, you will still move on because you were holding on to the fastest time between the two. Right now, Bayou is falling behind, and Sarmiento has the lead. Can they hold on to it? They get around this turn. Bayou is trying to catch him. So far has been unable to, but Sarmiento loses so much speed right before that final turn, and Bayou manages to pass him And he finishes with... It's hard to tell. It looks like a 17.13. So now in order for Sarmiento to move on, not only will he have to finish in front of Bayou in the second race, but he will have to finish faster than 17.13. So if they don't finish in front of Bayou, it is over. And after that little dip there, they do manage to get a little bit of a lead. But even if they finish in first, they will have to finish faster than a 17.13. And they spin around, going around that turn. They almost got stuck. Bayou is trying to catch him. Almost passes him in the same spot he did last time. Sarmiento keeps that lead. Will he be able to hold on to it? He does, but he finishes with... What time did he get? A 17.89. They managed to finish in front, but they got the slower time there. So it'll ultimately be Bayou joining Blue Line in the grand finals. They will need to pick up the pace a little bit if they want to keep up with some of these undefeated racers, though. But so far, they're gonna move on. Thank you, everyone. A few days in and a few more to go. Hey everybody, welcome to day number 5 of the Races and Fun Mail-In Tournament. Had some crazy events already, I'm sure we'll see more. Here's the first group for today. Number 46, D-Boom, 3.77 ounces. Number 47, 4114 Racing, 3.24 ounces. Number 48, Fix It With What You Got, 1.40 ounces. Number 49, Stompin', 3.21 ounces. Fix It With What You Got, that is probably the longest name we've had so far. But let's see how they fare up in today's races. Immediately taking the lead is D-Boom with 4114 right behind him. Stompin' is trying to keep up on the other end of the track. But now 41 has a slight lead, and now they're going into the lane mergers. And that still holds true. 41 is holding on to the lead, but D-Boom is trying to push him out of the way. So far, he is unable to do that, looking for an opening. But every time he moves, 41 follows, keeping him well behind him. And Stompin's trying to catch him, so far is unable to. And it looks like D-Boom managed to pull off a win at the last possible moment. 4114 had him up until then, but I don't think he managed to keep him from passing him. Meanwhile, Fix It With What You Got is moving pretty slow and managed to stop before entering that last turn. I could be wrong, but that also looks like it's one car laying on top of the other one. But hey, sometimes you just gotta go with a fancy design, but that design is not helping him right now. Into the second race, D-Boom once again takes a slight lead. It's those three that are keeping relatively together. So far, Fix It is not keeping up with them. But maybe they'll be able to pull something off, and we just don't expect it. Meanwhile, D-Boom just pushes Stompin' out of the way, makes him lose so much momentum. And 4114 is currently racing by himself over there. And as we get into this last lane merger here in the final stretch, 4114 has the lead. Can he hold on to it this time as D-Boom approaches, but he manages to get the win this time. So as of now, we have no undefeated racers. That could change later. And now Fix It With What You Got is actually further back up the track, losing progress with each race so far. And 41 finishes with a 15.77. That's about a second and a half slower than the fastest time we've had so far, which is currently held by undefeated racer Blue Line Racing. Into race number 3, so far Fix It has not finished yet. I'm sure they're looking to change that at this point, even if their chances are pretty much gone at this point. Into this next stretch, D-Boom is actually out in front, and 41 has lost some momentum, trying to catch back up. And Stompin' is currently on his own, but D-Boom is currently in the lead going into the final stretch. And 41 is trying to catch him, but he spins around, losing more speed. And D-Boom will finish in first again. And stomping just behind 41 in third. And Blue Line is going into that final stretch. Will he be able to get around it this time? No! He gets stuck again. To fix it with what you got, may need to take that name into consideration and fix something, because they haven't even finished yet. And if they don't finish here, I think they might be the first racer in this tournament to do so. But we'll have to see. After that first turn, it's 41-14 with the lead, and Stompin just passed D-Boom. Will he be able to hold on to it is the question, though. Because so far, Stompin hasn't won a race yet, so if he finishes in second, that may help him. I don't know if it'll be enough, but finishing in second is nothing to sneeze at either. Meanwhile, 41-14 finishes in first. Still not quite the fastest time, and Stompin does finish in second. Here goes Fix It. It looked like he had the speed until he started fishtailing, and he stops in the same spot again. Something about that last turn just kills him. Yeah, they'll definitely have to fix something in the future. Hopefully they'll have better luck in later races. For now, though, let's meet the racers in our second group. Number 50, Laro Reed. 1.89 ounces. Number 51, EP Videos. 3.25 ounces. Number 52, Dirt Map. 3.91 ounces. And number 54, Deuce That Racer. 1.10 ounces. I'm feeling like there's a play on words in that name, and I'm just not fully grasping it, but if there is a play on words there, please let me know. And in general, if I'm mispronouncing something, let me know. For now, though, EP Videos has the lead. Doesn't seem to be moving too fast, but as long as he holds on to that lead, he'll be fine. For that next stretch, everyone else seems to have disappeared. I don't even see any other racers on camera, even if this one's in the lead, and they finish with what? It looks like a 15.03. Respectable. They definitely want to pick up the pace in later races. But where did everybody else go? We see Laro stuck up there for some reason, and it looks like they're facing backwards. But what about the other two? Looks like Dirt Map and Deuce. Oh, wait, I think I get the name now. But for now, we're not going to focus on the name because it looks like he and Dirt Nap are stuck even further back than Laro was. And even Dirt Nap somehow wound up upside down. I'm not sure how they managed to pull that off. Something tells me it has to do with the turn right before that. But yeah, EP Videos is the only person to finish that race. Excuse me. It's rare that we see somebody never finish. It's just about as rare where only one person finishes. Usually it's the other way around where three people finish and only one gets stuck, but this time it was vice versa. Going into the second race, once again the EP has the lead. I still saw some racers moving last time they were on camera. In fact, I saw one pass by. Meanwhile, EP goes into the final stretch without any competition whatsoever. And they finish in first once again. Around the same time it might have looked like. But is someone else going to finish this time? Here comes somebody. Who is that? It looks like it's Deuce. And he barely manages to finish. Meanwhile, Laro stops around the same point, and once again, Dirt Nap somehow wound up upside down. I am not quite sure how this is happening, but I am noticing it happens right after a turn. So maybe something in its momentum after they turn causes the car to flip. Definitely want to stay on their wheels in the last couple of races. But we finally managed to get another person to finish. I'm not sure how this is going to play out, because so far EP Videos has had no competition, but they will have at least one racer joining them somehow. And right now that favor goes to Sea-Deuce. And we go into this third race though. Man, I am so sorry, folks. Something's been caught in my throat. But EP Videos does have the lead once again, but it looked like we still have a couple other people on the move. And somehow EP flipped around and is going backwards. And it looks like that may have cost them some speed. But given how no one has been able to even get to the final turn besides them, they probably don't have much to worry about. And they finish in first yet again, so they're guaranteed to move on. And I think that was Dirtnap that finished in second this time, and Sea-Deuce finishing in third. So far it looks like everybody has finished except for Laro. And it looks like they didn't even get past the first stretch there. They got through that first turn and then they just stopped. Absolutely far from ideal. I think that was the earliest stop I have ever seen. So far Laro has not finished yet. And they have one more chance to do so. If they don't, then we will have two racers that have not yet finished so far in this tournament, and in the same video, no less. So even though Fix It With What You Got hasn't finished in one race, if Laro doesn't do the same thing, they can at least sit comfortably knowing that they weren't the only one that this happened to. Meanwhile, as we get into this final race, EP Videos is already guaranteed, and Sea-Deuce has the higher chance between him and Dirtnap to move on, but anything could happen really, because this is quite rare that something like this would happen. I don't really know what to say other than the fact that EP Videos has a good shot against whoever joins him in the finals, at least. Who they face in the actual finals may be another story, but EP Videos is sitting comfortably, and it looks like Sea-Deuce will be moving on. And Dirtnap didn't finish, and I don't think Laro did either. Nope, they did not finish in a single race. So we had two racers in the same video never finish even once. And once again, every time Dirtnap did not finish, they somehow wound up upside down. If we had a camera focused on that vehicle, I would have loved to see how that happened each and every time. This is definitely one of the strangest racing groups I've ever come across, for better or worse. But EP Videos will be moving on, and Sea-Deuce will join him. We'll see how that pans out in the finals, as they go up against D-Boom and 41. Yeah, EP Videos did win every single race so far, but they didn't have too many racers in their own group kind of giving them any competition. So let's see how they fare up against 41 and D-Boom. So far they actually do have the lead, and 41 is trying to catch them, but they're not even in the same lane right now, so let's see if they can actually make something happen when they get into this final stretch. So far EP Videos is the first one there, and that everyone else actually lost ground on him. Meanwhile, 41 and D-Boom were staying right beside each other as they get into that final part of the track. I think it was 41 that finished. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to look back at the footage. But here comes Sea-Deuce, and he's trying to finish, and he manages to do so. That being said, they did finish in last, so they have a lot of ground to make up. Yeah, 15.33 is not the greatest time we've seen, but it's still relatively respectable. It almost looked like Sea-Deuce actually stopped up there, but I guess he had just enough speed to get around that last turn and go down the hill towards the finish. It's hard to see him actually finish because the The cushion at the end kind of blocked half the screen there. But EP Videos is in a much better position knowing that they can finish in first even against 41 and D-Boom. Let's see if they can do that again. So far they are undefeated, so they only need 3 more races to get that title. But 41 comes out of nowhere, launches himself in front, and manages to take the lead. The real question is, will they be able to hold on to it? They get into this next stretch there, and as they get into the last turn, they do have a decent-sized lead. And 41 denies EP Video a chance of being an undefeated racer. So after this, we will still only have 3 that have never lost a race up to this point. That being Blue Line, Killer Kowalski, and Chase Family. And I believe Blue Line also currently holds the fastest time we've seen, which is 13.99. So they have been the only one, as far as I can remember, to break the 14-second mark. Other races have gotten close, but Blue Line is the only one to have done it. In this particular group, though, C-Deuce manages to finish again, but it's not looking good right now. Meanwhile, EP and 41 are tied for the lead. That being said, in this third race, whoever finishes in first, it is not guaranteed that they will hold on to first place. But it definitely solidifies their chances a lot more to move on to the grand finals along with the other racers who have already done so. In this group right here, though, the top 3 racers are neck and neck with each other, and EP Videos is losing some ground. 41 and D-Boom are staying next to each other once again, and D-Boom is trying to find a way to pass him. He does kind of shove 41 ahead, trying to make him spin, but didn't quite get that to happen. And 41 finishes in first, followed by D-Boom and then EP. C-Deuce is nowhere to be seen right now, but he does manage to get into the final stretch. Will they be able to finish again? Yes, they do. .41 finishes with 15.48. They definitely want to pick up the pace when they move on in the future, it seems, should they do so. Yeah, I'm not sure what causes C-Deuce to lose so much speed, but they seem to have just enough in this particular group to finish each time, which is definitely a step up from the last one, in terms of how many times they finish. And here we go into this last race. I didn't think to look at who had the scores, but now we can see them in the top left. It looks like things are looking good for 41 and EP, but EP has actually finished in a worse position each race. They would have to somehow finish behind C-Deuce. Yeah, it looks like EP and 41 will be moving on. So now I will take this time to tell you that our next tournament will be a Mario Kart custom race tournament. So if you have a racer that you want to submit, or if you want to just see the rules and whatnot, go to the Races and Fun Facebook page, and you will get all the info you need there. So until then, we have these racers, DP and 41 moving on. D-Boom definitely put in a valiant effort. He definitely gave 41 some competition. Meanwhile, C-Deuce was at least able to finish each race, even though it was very close each and every time. 41 and EP joining our roster. I believe we have 3 more days of racers before the grand finals. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you for day number 6. We had some wacky things happen in day 5's races, so let's see if day 6 can do the same. Hey everybody, and welcome to today's round of the tournament. Let's meet our first group for today. Number 37, Ryan Kelly, 3.47 ounces. Number 38, Red Pill, 2.76 ounces. Number 40, NSED Racing, 3.20 ounces. And number 41, Matt the Mailman, 1.32 ounces. They're called the Mailman, but it looks like they might be a fan of baseball. In any case, as we begin today's race, I want to remind everybody that our next tournament will be a Mario Kart custom tournament with more racers sent in by you, the fans. So if you want to figure out how to do that, learn the rules, etc., go to the Races and Fun Facebook page and you should be able to find everything you need to know there. As we look into this race though, it looks like Red Pill is out in front, followed closely by Matt the Mailman. Oh no, that's Ryan Kelly, my apologies. The lighting was slightly different, so it was hard to tell for a moment. But they finished in first and second respectively. It looked like Ensed in third and Matt the Mailman was actually in fourth. Sorry, the color kind of threw me off for a second. But Red Pill takes the first win, so they are the one who will have a chance at being an undefeated racer. Let's see if they can keep that up. In race number 2, and Red Pill takes a slight lead. Ryan Kelly, actually all four are staying relatively close together, which is not something that can be said about some previous races in other videos. But as we get into this next stretch here, I think that's Ensed who was falling behind just a little bit. And Red Pill currently has the lead still. And they get into the final stretch. And it looks like they might have lost a little bit of speed and they spin around, go sideways. They do correct themselves, but so much speed was lost. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that Matt the Mailman might have actually been able to pass him if he himself didn't start sliding sideways. I don't know if that was the design of the car, but it almost looked like Red Pill kind of was grinding along the side of the track there at the last moment. But so far, Red Pill does have 2 wins, 1 more, and they will automatically move on to the finals. And Matt the Mailman, they desperately needed at least a second place finish after finishing in 4th the first time. So now their chances of staying in this competition have just gone up quite a bit. If they can keep consistent, they'll greatly increase their chances. And they actually do have the lead right now. They're actually taking the lead from Red Pill, who fishtailed a little bit. But as we get into that turn, Matt the Mailman popped loose a second, so they did lose some momentum. And now Ryan Kelly looks like they might have second place on him. And they are trying to pass Red Pill, and they spin Red Pill around. And because of that, Red Pill lost just enough speed that they lost the chance at being undefeated. And they knocked over a sign in the process. We'll have to take a look at the extent of the damage in a second here. Hopefully the racers are all okay, because that can be dangerous. And so far, Red Pill does have the lead in points, but they will not be undefeated, nor are they technically guaranteed to move on, even though the point distribution makes the odds pretty good for them. They at least will probably move on, even if they don't hold the lead in points. Meanwhile, Matt the Mailman, he finished in 3rd, so it's not looking good for him, as Ryan Kelly is in a much better position now after finishing in 1st in front of Red Pill. Meanwhile, Red Pill is in front, no one is anywhere near him this time. And they finish in 1st again, so Red Pill will be moving on. And it looks like Matt the Mailman does finish in 2nd, but because Ryan Kelly finished in 3rd, I'm not sure if it'll be enough for Matt. Meanwhile, Ensed finishes in 4th once again, so it's not looking good for them either. And Red Pill finishes with 15.96. That's actually about 2 seconds slower than our fastest time, which was a 13.99 held by Blue Line Racing. They at least managed to finish, and they actually went over the top of Ryan Kelly, which is not the smoothest move for any racer to do, especially if they're going out. But meanwhile, let's move on to our second group, which has number 42, Ken Doucet, 1.39 ounces. Number 43, Lily the Dog, 2.66 ounces. Number 44, Hot Wheels Boys, 3.03 ounces. And number 45, Team MSM, 3.71 ounces. Now that Lily the Dog vehicle, especially with that dog poking up at the top there, I don't know if that's the most aerodynamic vehicle I've ever seen, but they are quickly shutting me up as they are already in the lead. Maybe dogs are better drivers than initially thought. And right now, they're not out of the woods yet. Somehow, as I say that, second place, whoever that was, just seemed to stop completely. So it's a lot easier for Lily the dog to finish in first as long as they can keep straight. But it looks like they will. Yet they definitely have just shown me to not judge a car by its racer. Or by its design, I guess. Because they do have the first place finish and are the current only racer in this video to possibly go undefeated. Meanwhile, we have one racer who did not finish. I believe that was Deucet? I think that's how you say it. If I ever mispronounce a name, please let me know how to properly pronounce it in the comments. Yeah, 16.56. That is not the time you want to have. And for now, I'll call them Ken, just so I don't risk mispronouncing their name. But Lily Dog currently has the lead in points, and they're already taking off while MSM and Hot Wheels boys are trying to stay on their tail. In fact, it looks like MSM has the lead right now. Lily the dog is trying to catch him. So far, unable to do so. We have two more stretches, or two more turns rather. And so far, MSM is barely holding on to it, although it looks like Lily might be giving them some competition around this last turn. Lily the dog passes him, and they manage to finish in first yet again. Oh, that was a rough tumble though. And considering it's a dog, that definitely makes it look a lot more painful for the viewing audience. But it looks like they're okay. Meanwhile, somebody didn't finish. And it looks like Ken once again wound up upside down. We had a racer in the last video that every time they didn't finish, they also wound up upside down. I'll refrain from saying their name again just to save them some embarrassment. But so far we've had one racer finish first every time, and one racer not finish every time. As of this moment though, Lily the dog just needs one more win to solidify a spot in today's finals and keep their hopes alive of staying undefeated. MSM once again comes out of nowhere and takes that lead, and they're fighting back and forth with Lily as they get into the second to last turn here. Who has the lead now? It's hard to tell, but it looks like Team MSM might have a slight edge. But as I say that, they spin around and lose all their speed. Lily the dog takes advantage and finishes in first for the third time in a row. And MSM actually finishes in third. Hot Wheels boys saw an opportunity and finished in second. Meanwhile, Ken is somewhere and once again upside down. What is causing that to happen? So, again, we've had multiple racers do that where they didn't finish and wound up upside down. But yeah, Lily the dog already has 3 wins, so they will be moving on. It's just a matter of who will join them between Team MSM and Hot Wheels boys. It looks like Hot Wheels boys actually has the slight edge, kind of flying under the radar a little bit until now. But if Team MSM can finish in second and Hot Wheels boys finishes in third, we will have another tiebreaker, which is another rarity, but we've seen a lot of rare things happen quite a bit actually in this tournament already. Meanwhile, Lily the dog is looking to stay undefeated, and they go into this final dip here, and they will do it. We have another sweep here. The question is, will they be able to do so in the finals for today and stay undefeated? Meanwhile, we will have a tiebreaker, as MSM finished in second and Hot Wheels boys in third, and Ken, every single time they did not finish and they wound up on their backs. And that's definitely not what Ken wanted, but best of luck in the future for sure.
don't give up racing just because this happened. You will have more opportunities in the future, I'm certain of it. But for now, we have to settle this tiebreaker between MSM and Hot Wheels Boys. I believe we will have 2 races, and whoever has the fastest time between the 2, regardless, will be moving on. So let's say you finish with the faster time in the first race, but you finish in second in the second race. But as long as your time was faster, you will still move on. Meanwhile, MSM has the lead, but he is constantly fishtailing, losing. He's going so slow. Will Hot Wheels Boys be able to catch him now? It looks like he might. It's getting pretty close, but MSM managed to hold on to that lead and finishes with a whopping 18.45. So now, if Hot Wheels Boys finishes in front of him but finishes slower than 18.45, Team MSM will still move on. Yeah, that was definitely not what I expected. It looked like they were going pretty fast up until that last long stretch before the final turn. MSM still has the lead right now. So if they finish in front of Hot Wheels Boys again, they will automatically move on regardless of time. And Hot Wheels Boys lost so much speed, so it's looking a lot better for Team MSM right now. They get into that last dip there, and they go so slow, they go sideways. And here comes Hot Wheels Boys trying to catch him. Almost passes him, but nicks the corner and finishes behind him. So Team MSM will be moving on. And they finished with an even bigger whopping of a 20.33. To think that some racers are finishing about 6, 7 seconds faster than that is staggering. But Team MSM will be moving on with Lily the dog, who's currently undefeated and is the only racer in the finals to have that jurisdiction. But here we go into this last stretch here. And so far, Red Pill is contending with Lily the dog for that first place position. But Lily the dog is getting that lead back. And as we get into these lane mergers, Lily is holding on to it, but Red Pill is right behind them, looking for any open window to pass by them. So far is unsuccessful. When we get into this final turn here, this could make all the difference. But Red Pill lost just enough speed that Lily stayed in front and gets their 5th win in a row, keeping the possibility of staying undefeated alive. And what time did they finish with, actually? They finished with a 16.22. So they're finishing in first now, but if they want to stay undefeated either here or in the grand final, should they move on, they definitely want to pick up the pace a little bit. So far, Red Pill is the one racer to give them a little bit of competition, but the other two are not out yet. As we get into the second race, we get into the split, and it looks like Lily still has the lead. However, Red Pill, actually all 4 racers are staying relatively close together this time. And now we get into this lane merger, which could shift everything. Right now, Lily does have the lead, but Red Pill is not too far back. And as we get into this last turn, who will have the lead? It's still Lily, but Red Pill is trying to find a way to pass him at the last moment. Could not do it. So Lily has 2 wins. Once again, just needs 1 more to move on. And is only 2 races away from being undefeated. They do finish with a 16.79 though, so this is not the time you want to have going forward. It's not looking good for MSM or Ryan Kelly. But props to MSM for making it after that tiebreaker. Race number 3, here we go. Lily is right next to Red Pill, and they will stay together into this lane split. But as we get into the merger, it looks like Red Pill actually has the lead over Lily. And Lily started to fishtail a little bit, bounced off the wall, lost some speed, but they're looking to gain it back. They're trying to catch Red Pill, who currently has the lead going into that last turn. But will they be able to hold on to it? It looks like they will. They get into this last dip. And Lily the dog will not be undefeated. Red Pill has denied them that right. And MSM finishes in third again. And Ryan Kelly just manages to finish in fourth. So it looks like Lily the dog will be moving on. But it's obviously not set in stone anymore, nor will they be undefeated. They got pretty close, a lot closer than some other racers have in recent videos. But they will not be undefeated moving forward. And it looks like the greatest odds of moving on are between Lily and Red Pill. But we've definitely seen some unexpected things happen in previous videos, so I would not be surprised if something crazy happens here. And in this last race for today, Lily the dog having trouble talking today, does have a slight lead, and it looks to be expanding a bit as they get into this next turn, but Red Pill is looking to pick up some speed actually, trying to catch Lily. Into the final stretch, here we go, and Lily still has it. So Lily will be moving on, and it looks like Red Pill will be joining them if they can finish in second, and they do. So MSM and Ryan Kelly are out, but they finished together like champs. Let's see what kind of time that was. Was it faster than 16 seconds? No, in fact, it was almost 17. So yes, Lily and Red Pill are moving on, but they definitely need to step up their game. Especially when compared to some of the other racers that are already moving on. It looks like we will have 4 more slots for the grand finals, so let's see who fills them. 2 more days of races to go, and 4 more spots to fill. Hey everybody, welcome to day number 7 of the Races and Fun Mail-In Tournament. Let's meet our first group for today. Number 55, Agent 00, 1.04 ounces. Number 56, Big Bishop, 2.49 ounces. Number 57, Noob, 3.20 ounces. And number 58, Daryl Abdullah, 1.26 ounces. Apologies if I mispronounced that, by the way. But these 4 are looking ready to go, so let's see what happens. As we begin the first race for today, it looks like Agent 00 is falling behind the other 3 just a little bit, but we've seen some people fall behind and then pick up some speed out of nowhere, so they could still do that. Meanwhile, it looks like Noob is out in front. They did lose some speed, and Big Bishop and Daryl are taking full advantage of that. But as I say that, it looks like Big Bishop lost a lot of speed around that turn. Now Daryl is way out in front, and they will take that first win. They did lose a lot of speed, and Noob almost caught him. If the track was a little bit longer, they might have been able to do so. But Agent 00 finishes in 4th, and I think some of those turns may have just caused them to lose enough speed that they couldn't catch the other 3. But to finish with a 17.65, we saw some speedy racers earlier on in the tournament, but some of these recent races, we haven't seen too many people break even 15 seconds, let alone 14. Right now, Daryl does have the first win, but it looks like it could go back and forth between some of these racers. And Noob is currently in the lead after the start of the race. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. But now Daryl has a decent-sized lead. And it looks like they're expanding it as we get down further into this track. Going into the final stretch, is anyone anywhere near them? It looks like Noob might be. And Daryl did lose some speed. Here comes Noob. Can he catch him? No, despite the fact that he lost so much speed, Daryl was able to go sideways at just the right time to block anyone from passing him. Meanwhile, Big Bishop wasn't able to reach the finish line despite being so close to doing so. It looked like Noob might have been able to pass him, but Daryl made sure to stick his nose out, which is definitely a popular technique used in these tournaments. But we had 2 people that didn't finish that time, so it's looking pretty good for Daryl and Noob. Noob might have to change his name because he's seemingly far from it. Into race number 3, we've already seen some separation here. Noob has a slight lead, but here comes Daryl passing him as we get into this next turn where the lanes merge. And Daryl made sure to stay in front, and Noob lost some speed there, kind of bouncing off the walls just a little bit. But sometimes that's all you need to make a huge difference, and Daryl comes to an almost sudden stop. But being a good sport about it, Noob pushes him forward, and everyone is going at a snail's pace all of a sudden. But Noob did not want to see Daryl get completely stuck, so he pushed him forward, sacrificing any opportunity to take first place. And Big Bishop just drives right over him, seemingly not thrilled by that act. And Agent 00 could not get around that last turn. Let's see, did they even get there under 20 seconds? Barely. Yet generally, based off races we've seen in this tournament so far, you want to try and at least finish in the 14-second area. And it's been a little while since we've seen a lot of racers able to do that. But here we go into this last stretch, and so far it just looks like Daryl and Noob will be moving on. Because I don't think Big Bishop, even with a first place finish and the other 2 not finishing at all, has much of any chance of moving on, unfortunately for them. Right now though, Daryl does have 3 consecutive wins, so they will automatically be moving on. And they just need 1 more to keep alive their idea of becoming an undefeated racer. But as I say that, Noob has a big lead going into the final stretch and takes that chance away. And Daryl skids across. Actually, not even across. They stopped on the finish line. And Big Bishop somehow managed to find that tight window and finish in second, maybe third, I'm not sure. If they count Daryl as finishing there, then Big Bishop will have finished in third. Otherwise, Big Bishop will have found a great opportunity and finished in second. Yet that was the tightest window they could have possibly gone through without touching Daryl, but they did not count it. But despite that, Daryl and Noob will be moving on. And here comes the second group. Number 59, Team Thunder, 1.20 ounces. Number 60, Eric Duncanson, with a weight that is not written there. Number 61, Joe Pluto, 0.91 ounces. And number 62, Cleveland City Diecast, 2.68 ounces. And Joe Pluto definitely has one of the flashiest designs. Considering how lightweight they are, though, that might prove to be their downfall. And that's showing already as they're falling behind. Meanwhile, Cleveland City is way out in front, and Eric Duncanson is trying to catch him. So far is unable to do so. Yet Cleveland just has a decent-sized lead right now, and it looks like they'll hold on to it unless they start spinning out, which some racers have done before. So until they finish, here we go, they're spinning out, they're going backwards, but they had enough of a lead, but they still managed to finish in first. And who's going to finish in second? It looks like it will be Eric. Meanwhile, the other two, where are... Oh no, wait! Where did he come from? Well, Joe Pluto definitely didn't finish, but we just saw... Oh my goodness, they hit the camera. Did they fall off the track? It looks like they did, because I did not see them for a good chunk of the race, and then out of nowhere. Yet Team Thunder, they definitely struck like thunder as they hit the ground. That is definitely one of the more painful looking crashes we've seen. But it looks like they're still going to race, so props to them for their tenacity, I guess. But that really looked harsh. Meanwhile, Cleveland City once again has the lead. Eric seems to be the one person who might be able to catch him, but as I say that, it looked like Eric and Team Thunder were relatively close to each other, while Cleveland has an expanding lead, and they go into the final stretch, no one anywhere close to them. And they're trying to stay straight this time. They do that, and they finish in second. Or in first. Wow, I don't know where that came from. But it looks like, I think that was Eric. Yep, he will finish in second, and Team Thunder was able to finish this time. And it looks like our Mohawk racer was not able to finish again. They did manage to get further down the track this time, but the fact that they did not finish at all, it is not looking good for them. I definitely like the design on a lot of these cars, though. If it's any consolation, I definitely like the design of that Mohawk. But Cleveland City currently has 2 wins, 1 more, and they will move on automatically. You look at that right as they start the race. They lunge out forward, which is sometimes all you need to hold on to and stay in the lead. Because if you start out fast, sometimes other racers won't be able to catch you, especially if you block them from passing you if they get close. But right now, though, Cleveland hasn't really had to do that too much. And they get into this last stretch, once again, no one anywhere near them. And it looks like they will automatically move on after they spin around a little bit. And Eric will be finishing in second. Here comes Team Thunder, once again finishing in third. But I gotta give them props for consistency after that little accident they had at the beginning. But Joe Pluto, still no finish for them at all. Yeah, I often think of it as rare where a racer does not finish at all in any of their races. But so far we've had at least 2, and it looks like Pluto will be joining them. Unless they can find a way to finish in this race. But while they're fighting to finish at all, Cleveland is fighting to stay in first every time and try to remain undefeated going into the finals. Going after that little lane split there, he does have the lead, but it looks like Eric is relatively close this time, and they get into the more open parts of the track, but it looks like Eric wasn't able to close that gap anymore, and Cleveland still has that lead, trying to stay undefeated going into the last stretch, and yet Eric isn't that close, and Cleveland keeps the hopes alive of being undefeated. Eric once again finishes in second, so they will be joining them in the finals. Team Thunder tries to finish, but is unable to do so. And Joe never got a single win. But again, if it's any consolation, I love that Mohawk. Better luck next time to the racers that are not moving on. And that is painful when you try to finish and you stop just short of the finish line. But at least they finished half the time, which is better than not at all. Here we go into the finals now, though. We have Daryl, Noob, Cleveland, and Eric. I believe Daryl was close to getting undefeated. I don't know if he did. In any case, Cleveland, I know for sure, is undefeated. Right now, Daryl does have the lead over him. So if Daryl can finish in front of him, or if anyone finishes in front of him, obviously, then Cleveland will have that chance of staying undefeated taken away. And it looks like that may happen, because these other 2 are fighting for first place. And they're going into that final stretch. And it's right now Daryl out in front, but Noob is trying to catch him, but he spins out at the same time. And Cleveland almost took full opportunity of their little squabble. we've definitely had some racers in the past fight for first place, but I don't think I've ever seen a fight for it as intense as it was between Daryl and Noob. Because they were constantly going back and forth, constantly clashing, constantly spinning out against each other. But Daryl finishes in first, and Cleveland is no longer undefeated. We haven't had too many undefeated racers. We've had at least 3 or 4. But most of them were earlier on in the tournament. Into this next race, though, Cleveland is doing better, keeping up with the other two. And as we get into the lane mergers, Cleveland is falling behind a little bit, but he's right behind Noob. And he has a burst of speed where he tries to catch him, but Noob blocks him. This time, though, Daryl is separate from them, and they go into the final stretch with no one close. And they're having trouble staying straight, but they stay straight enough to the point where they stay in first place. Meanwhile, Eric and Noob, it is very close. I think Noob still finished in second, though. And I think Cleveland actually finished in fourth. Cleveland was looking so good up until now. I'm not sure what happened in that race. But I want to say Noob took second. And they did, but just barely. Meanwhile, Daryl just needs one more win in order to join the roster in the grand finals. Meanwhile, starting into this third race, 3 of them are relatively close together. Eric is the one falling behind this time. And Cleveland is looking to make up some ground. And they merge together, they go around this turn, and Daryl is completely upside down. So now it's just between Cleveland and Noob. And Eric has a chance to finish in third again. But as we get into that last turn, Cleveland is out in front. Noob is trying to get close to him, but started spinning around and lost that opportunity. That is definitely something that Cleveland needed. To not only finish in first, but to have Daryl, of all people, not finish at all. So even if Daryl was undefeated before, they certainly are not now. It looks like they might have been clashing around that turn, and that clash caused them to flip over. Yeah, these times are still not that great. But obviously, if you move on, you will have more opportunities to improve on your time later. And that definitely opens the window a little bit for Cleveland to stay in this game. Right now, he has 10 points, Noob has 9, and Cleveland has 8. So it is really close between those 3. So who will move on will greatly depend on how they finish here. Right now, it's Noob out in front this time, but he's right next to Daryl. And as they get into this next split, it looks like Noob has a bit of a lead now, and Daryl is falling behind. Is Cleveland actually in front of him? It looks like he might be. And Noob finishes in first, which is definitely helpful for him. But Daryl finishes in second, ahead of Cleveland. So it looks like it'll be Noob and Daryl moving on. Cleveland definitely put a valiant effort in towards the end, but it doesn't look like it'll be enough. That was definitely exciting though, at least for me. But Noob and Daryl were moving on, filling up 2 of the last 4 spots in the grand finals. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time for day number 8. It is almost time for the grand finals, but first we have 2 more spots to fill. Hey everybody, welcome to day number 8 of the mail-in tournament. Let's meet our first group for today. Number 63, Donna Murphy, 1.03 ounces. Number 64, Cooper Vittoni, 1.30 ounces. Number 65, Oliver, 1.03 ounces. Number 27, Cape Fear Racing, 3.3 ounces. This is also just kind of a quick reminder that if I mispronounce any names, feel free to let me know how to properly pronounce them in the comments below so that if they move on, I know how to say it when they next appear. I will also say that when the grand finals
come around, we will be doing it over the course of 2 videos, since there's 16 racers instead of the traditional 8. So one half will go in the next video, and then the other half will go in the video after that, and then the absolute finals after that. For now, though, Cape Fear Racing looks like he will grab the first win here. I'm not quite sure what the time was yet. We'll take a look in a second. And who is that coming in behind him? It looks like Oliver and Cooper, followed closely by Donna. And the time was 16.13. If I recall correctly, the fastest time we have so far is still held by Blue Line Racing with a 13.99. Blue Line Racing is also one of the few racers we have that still hasn't lost a race. So far, we've had 3 racers move on that haven't lost yet. And so far, out of this group, the one racer that can achieve that is Cape Fear Racing. As we get into heat number 2, I also want to remind you folks that the next tournament we will have is a mail-in Mario Kart tournament. So if you want to submit a racer of your own for that, please go to the Races and Fun Facebook page. I believe there's still time, but you'd have to look at the Facebook page to be absolutely sure. In the meantime, though, Cape Fear Racing is once again out to a staggering lead, and like with some of our other racers, leaves everyone else in the dust. No one else is even on camera most of the time. And it looks like Cape Fear may have actually done better that time. I'd be willing to bet it was faster than the last race they had. And it looks like Cooper and Oliver are relatively even, although Oliver barely crossed the finish line there. And Donna is finally able to make it. They were going faster than Oliver was, but the fact is they finished in 4th, although they did sail right over them at the end. That was pretty cool. Yeah, 14.94. They finished about a second, almost a second and a half faster, actually. Yeah, these two seem to be relatively even in terms of racing speed. So that at least gives them some consistency, but you definitely want to finish at least second a couple times if you want to keep your hopes alive moving on, and that's what Cooper's doing. But right now, though, Cape Fear still hasn't lost. He gets one more win, he'll be moving on to the finals today, and possibly the grand finals later. You look at that right out the gate. Cape Fear just takes an instant lead. Some racers, they somehow find a way to launch themselves forward, going out of that starting line, and sometimes that's all you need to win the whole race. A good start can be the difference between winning and losing. If you get out in front of the other racers early, that is a clear advantage. And Cape Fear does actually get that 3rd consecutive win, so they will automatically be moving on. Cooper once again finishes in 2nd, and Oliver somehow skids sideways and stops short. And it looks like Donna might cross. I'm not sure if they're going to give that to them or not. They did at least touch the finish line, but it's quite possible that Oliver blocking the track just enough caused Donna to slow down to the point where they couldn't quite get across. We'll have to see if they count that. It looks like they just couldn't keep straight, and Donna almost made it around them, but they bumped them on the edge, and that caused them to lose enough of their speed that they might not actually count that. No, they're not going to count it. I'm kind of surprised, honestly. Because it looked like the finish line sensor went off, but I guess you have to go at least part way over to the finish line. Like at least more than half your car or something like that. I'm not sure what the technicality on that is. For now, though, Cape Fear is out in front yet again. Around that 2nd turn, although it looks like Oliver is relatively close behind this time. I did say Oliver was the one that got stuck on the track in the last race, right? I can't remember now. In any case, though, Cape Fear looks like he will have the undefeated title so far and will win all their races in the first group. Cooper once again finishes in 2nd, so he will be joining Cape Fear in today's finals. Valiant effort by Oliver. And Donna
might have gotten stuck somewhere. Yet they somehow were able to go the width of the track and go completely sideways. And a 15.82, that's an okay time. We've definitely seen some racers get into the 20-second area, which is not very good. But there definitely is some room for improvement. Meanwhile, we will now introduce our second group for today. Number 68, Road Rage, 1.95 ounces. Number 69, Speedy McGee, 2.65 ounces. Number 70, Route 66 Diecast, 2.84 ounces. Number 73, at 3.14 ounces, I think that's Jeffy? I'm not entirely sure. Let me know how to properly pronounce that. For now, I'll just say Jeff, because that seems a little more possible in terms of how to properly pronounce it. I'm just trying to be careful and considerate. Out the gate, though, it looks like Jeff and Road Rage are out in front. But around that turn, Road Rage did lose a little bit of speed. I'm not sure if those big wheels in the back are more of a help or a hindrance. But those turns are killing everyone right now. They seem to be going so fast, but they lost so much speed. Road Rage does have the lead, but going around that turn, the other two racers back there seem to have pushed into each other, and they're trying to catch up to Road Rage, but they're bumping into each other, and they just could not do it. I want to say Jeff finished in second, and then Route 66 Diecast Racing finished in third, and it looks like Speedy McGee could not get around that last turn. In a way, I'm kind of surprised any of them did, because they were going so slow around some of those turns, which is very dangerous on a track like this. And like I was saying a second ago, we sometimes have racers that finish in the 20s. And some of these racers are doing that now, so that could be a lot more helpful for the first group, because they were at least finishing in around the 15 or 16 second mark area. As we get into the second race, Jeff and Road Rage are once again the two in front of the others. Going around that first turn, Jeff seems to have at least kept some of that speed and is now taking a decent-sized lead away. If they can keep that up, it'll be a surefire win for them as long as they can stay straight, which some racers have definitely had some trouble doing. Into this last turn, looks like they're staying relatively straight, so they will take this win. So Road Rage will not be an undefeated racer. Speaking of Road Rage, there he is. He's going backwards now. It doesn't look like he'll have the speed to even finish. And Route 66 takes advantage of that and finishes in second. Road Rage doesn't finish, my apologies. And Speedy McGee, once again, pretty much in the same spot, just on the opposite side. That is definitely not good. Hopefully in the last couple races they'll be able to live a little more up to their name. Because so far it's looking like anything but speedy. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the idea behind those big wheels are. On one hand, it looks like they helped them because they won the first race, but then they didn't finish at all. Although that being said, they weren't really moving very fast throughout this entire race. So maybe if their wheels were a little bit smaller, I'm not entirely sure. We go into this third race. Around that first turn, they're staying more close together this time. Route 66 is trying to keep up now. So far is able to do that right by Road Rage. Well, Jeff has the lead going into this next turn. Route 66 is actually relatively keeping up, all things considered. But Jeff goes into that final stretch, skids a little bit, does lose some speed as a result, but they still have that lead, and they go into that last stretch, and they will have the next win. Who will finish in second? It looks like no one will. Road Rage and Route 66 were going side by side, and then they kind of spun each other around a little bit. And instead of fighting for second place, neither one got it. And yet again, for the third time in a row, Speedy gets stuck right before getting into that last turn. 1990, they at least finished below 20 seconds. But they're definitely going to need to step up their game a little bit if they want to go up against some of our other racers. And right now, so far, Speedy McGee has not finished a single time, which has happened an alarming amount of times in this tournament already. I feel like it's not very common, and yet we've seen it happen quite a few times, I believe, in this tournament alone. Going into this last race now, Road Rage is trying to make something happen, although I don't think he can catch up at this point. He and Route 66 are tied for... Actually, no. I stand corrected. He does have a shot. He's tied right now with Route 66, and neither one of them finished. And it looks like Road Rage won't this time either, which could be the break Route 66 needs to move on, alongside Jeff, who once again finished in first. Yeah, here comes Route 66. Route 66 Diecast is a wonderful example of taking advantage of an opportunity when they see it. Meanwhile, Road Rage this time is the one who didn't get around that last turn, and Speedy McGee never finished, adding to the total we already have. Yeah, twice at least, Route 66 was in third, and then they saw an open window, they took it, and because of that, they are moving on. Valiant effort by Route 66. Wonderful job. In the finals for today, though, they will have some competition with Cooper and Cape Fear. Cape Fear specifically is currently undefeated. And part of that is helped by that early start that they always get. They start off almost immediately taking the lead, and so far no one has been able to pass them ever. They don't quite have the fastest time. That still, I believe, goes to Blue Line Racing. But Cape Fear is no slouch. In and around that last turn, no one anywhere near them. They're staying relatively straight, fishtailing a little bit, and they do finish in first yet again. 3 more, and they will be undefeated going into the grand finals, bringing the total up to 4 out of the 16 that will be there. They do finish with a 15.5. That is not too bad. Meanwhile, Jeff finishes in second. Actually, no, third. I apparently completely missed Cooper, and that is my bad. Yeah, Jeff finishes in third. Route 66 finishes in fourth this time. I will say, though, to whoever sent in that one, the Route 66 diecast car, even if this car does not move on, you can at least have some consolation knowing that Route 66 had some of the smartest racing I've seen in a while in terms of being able to take advantage of opportunities that are presented to them and being able to progress because of it. In race number 2, though, Cape Fear once again, I don't know exactly what causes them to get a big start like that, but it seems to be working out for them. And they get into that next turn, no one is close to them at all. I don't think I've seen anyone even give them the slightest competition so far. And they get into that last turn once again. We don't see anybody else on camera. And Cape Fear finishes in first once again. A little bit slower this time, but not by much. Cooper once again finishes in second, Jeff in third, and Route 66 will at least finish. Which is certainly better than not finishing, obviously. But Cape Fear just needs one more win, and they will automatically be moving on to the grand finals, joining the other 15 racers that will appear there. It looks like Jeff has the highest chance to join them. But if Route 66 can find other open opportunities, grab them, and get some really good points on the board, they could pull off an upset that nobody saw coming. Heat number 3, here we go. Right now, Jeff and Cooper are staying side by side, and Cape Fear does have that slight lead again. But let's see what happens as they get into these straight pieces. The lanes are merging together. Cape Fear did lose a little bit of speed, bonking off the wall slightly. but they are able to pick up speed so quickly that you almost don't notice. Now, the one thing some faster racers have had the disadvantage of is being so fast that they can't keep straight. But Cape Fear doesn't seem to have that issue, and they will finish in first yet again, this time a little bit slower. About a second slower than normal. But they will be moving on automatically. Meanwhile, I didn't see who finished in second, but Route 66 did not finish in this race as they also got stuck before the last turn. And Cooper did not finish either. This could have been the break right here that Route 66 needed, but unfortunately, they did not have the speed this time to get around that last turn. The Cape Fear will be moving on. It looks like Jeff will be joining them. Actually, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, but Jeff and Cooper are actually tied for second right now. So whoever finishes first between the two will be the one joining Cape Fear in the grand finals, taking the last slot available. Meanwhile, Cape Fear is just trying to get that undefeated streak alive. And it looks like they're going to be able to do that, because so far they haven't really spun out. They haven't really had anybody catch up to them. So it looks like they will have that undefeated streak unless they find something that'll cause them to spin out like now, except they were quickly able to correct themselves going backwards. And they have so far, they are the fourth and final undefeated racer in the tournament. And wait, who actually finished in second? Was it Cooper or was it Jeff? We'll have to see in a second. Meanwhile, Route 66 somehow managed to get stuck there. At least we'll be able to see how this time because of the camera angle. So who was it? It was Cooper! Cooper is the one that will be joining Cape Fear in the finals. The grand finals, rather. Yeah, I guess they just had hit the wall just right that they got stuck there. Oh, wow, ladies and gentlemen, I actually miscalculated. It looks like we have a tiebreaker now. I thought that was the tiebreaker. But I guess I was off by one. Jeff actually had 1 point more than Cooper did. But Cooper finished in second, allowing him to tie. And now these two will race twice, I believe. And whoever has the fastest time between those two races will be the one moving on. So let's say you get a good time in the first race, but then you finish in second. If your fastest time is faster than your opponent's, you will still move on, regardless of which race that faster time was in. And Cooper tried to find a way around Jeff there, but Jeff was able to nose block him. Once again, that is a very popular maneuver, a very famous one in tournaments like these. And he kept Cooper from finishing in front of him. So now, if Cooper wants to move on, he will have to beat Jeff's time of about 1932. Which I believe is possible, but that could depend on how they perform here. Right now, they do have the lead on Jeff. But even if they finish in front of Jeff here, if they finish slower than 1932, they will not move on, and Jeff will be joining the roster of the grand finals. But all of a sudden, Cooper has a decent-sized lead. Jeff has fallen behind greatly. We'll have to see if Cooper gets there fast enough. And the time is 17.9. It'll be Cooper. Moving on, a great comeback by Cooper. As for Jeff, I am so sorry, but you got very close, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. And with that, Cooper will be joining Cape Fear in the grand finals, and our roster is set. In the next video, half of them. 8 full days of races, and only 16 racers remain. Hey everybody, welcome to day number 9, day 1 of the grand finals. There will be 2 days because there's 16 racers, and the first group has been highlighted, and they are ready to go. So let's do a quick recap of who will be racing in this first group. It'll be Arlo, weighing in at 3.71 ounces, Chase family at 2.7 ounces, EP videos at 3.25 ounces, and 4114 Racing at 3.24 ounces. Now the one to keep an eye on here is Chase Family, because out of this group, Chase Family is the only racer who is undefeated. In fact, in our top 16, 4 of them are undefeated, and Chase Family is one of them. So we'll begin this first race now. Chase Family has a lead already. They get into the lane mergers, and EP is actually right behind him. And anyone who finishes in front of Chase Family, if they can do so, will stop that undefeated streak in its tracks. They get into the final turn, and it looks like Chase Family has a lead, but he loses speed getting spun around, and he finishes in third. And on the first race of the Grand Finals, the Chase Family's undefeated streak is done. It looked like they might have had a chance, but EP came out of nowhere and started spinning them around. All 4 racers seem to be relatively even in terms of speed and maneuverability, so we'll see exactly how this stacks up for Chase and the rest of the racers. Right now, EP has the first win, so that puts him in a much better position. In this second race, Chase Family and EP are racing together on that track back there, while 41 and Arlo are in the other. We get into this next split, and it looks like 41 is actually in the lead right now, with Chase not too far behind. Into this final stretch, what's going to happen? It's 41 currently with the lead, but here comes Chase trying to pass him, but is unable to do so. So Chase at least does improve and finishes in second this time. Meanwhile, EP finishes in third. So let's see what that does to the score. It looks like 41 now has a lead, followed closely by EP, and then Chase. The top 2 will be moving on, and right now it's basically anybody's game. Starting off race number 3, Chase has a slight lead, and we've seen before that if you get an early lead, that is definitely going to help you for the rest of the race. If you don't, then you're going to spend a lot of that race playing catch-up. But right now, EP is in first, but Chase Family is close behind. Getting into that last stretch before the lane merger. And it's hard to tell who has the lead. It looks like it's EP, and they get this first... What am I talking about, first win? Their second win, but first place. And I didn't actually quite see who finished in second. It looks like it was Chase, which is a big help for him. Or them, as it may be, because it looks like it's an entire family. Yeah, it's a lot closer now in terms of points. I think EP might still have the lead with 13. 41-14 has 10. And Chase Family has 8. Arlo currently has 3, so it's not looking good with only 1 race left. In fact, I don't think they have a way to get even third place at this point, which is an absolute shame, because Arlo was really good before. But Chase Family, in order to move on, he needs to pass at least 41-14. If he can get first, and then 41 finishes in third, that could be very good for him. And it looks like he will finish in first, and 41 does finish in third. Is that going to be enough? We'll have to see in a second, and I haven't been paying attention to the times up to this point, and that is my apologies. I don't think anybody has taken away the fastest time from Blue Line Racing, and Chase Family actually does steal the second slot from 41-14. That was very close. Props to 41-14. Keep your head held high. That was some great racing. In the second group for today, though, we now have Numbskull at 3.98 ounces, Flip at 3.5 ounces, Red Pill at 2.76 ounces, and number 43, Lily the Dog at 2.66 ounces. Honestly, for me, that is the racer that is the surprise entry here in the Grand Finals, because when I first saw that vehicle, I wasn't really sure that car was going to perform very well. But then it proved me wrong, and here they are in the Grand Finals. As we get into this first race, though, it looks like, I think that's Flip in the lead, with Numbskull not too far behind. Let's see what happens as we get into these last couple of stretches. Yeah, that is Flip. And Numbskull is trying to pass him, trying to find a way around. So far, Flip has blocked him at every turn and was able to spin him around. 14.83, that is definitely a good time. I believe the fastest time still is held by Blue Line Racing at 13.99. One of the only racers, if not the only racer, to break the 14-second mark. If that's wrong, I somehow missed a faster time somewhere, I sincerely apologize. But I only remember one racer breaking 14 seconds, and that is Blue Line Racing, who, by the way, is another of the 4 undefeated racers we have. In the second race, Numbskull and Flip take an early lead, while Red Pill and Lily the dog fall behind relatively quickly, which is definitely something you don't want to do at any point, much less at the start of the race. Once again, Flip has a bit of a lead, but this time Numbskull is not directly behind him as they're in separate lanes, so Numbskull might be able to find a way across. But they do... I am struggling here, and they cross at almost the same time. I want to say Numbskull actually finished before Flip did. And Numbskull definitely took advantage of the fact that for the most part they had different lanes. And Flip was trying to block him again, but was unable to do so there. And yes, Numbskull did finish in front of Flip that time. So now they are tied for first. Meanwhile, when it comes to Red Pill and Lily, it looks like Lily is currently in third and Red Pill in fourth. Right now, though, if they want any chance to move on, they will have to finish in front of probably both Flip and Numbskull at some point, which has been shown to be very hard to do so far. And once again, Numbskull and Flip are fighting for that lead, and they are in the same lane this time, but Flip managed to make Numbskull lose some momentum there, which is a big plus for him as they get into that last stretch, but he spins around, loses a little bit of speed. Numbskull tries to catch him, and he just can't do it. So now Flip has the upper hand in terms of overall points, but it's definitely looking good for Flip and Numbskull. This time it's Lily the dog who finishes in fourth. So it's not looking good for Red Pill or Lily, but the fact that they made it to the grand finals is definitely something to pat yourself on the back for. In the last race here, it's looking like it'll be Flip and Numbskull moving on. So let's see if they take this race casually or take it seriously. Because so far it looks like these two have a bit of rivalry. But right now Flip has the lead. And they have 2 more turns now, and they are in separate lanes again. Will Numbskull do what he did last time and take advantage of that? The final stretch, and look at that! Numbskull tried to slingshot himself and he almost had it, but Flip had just enough room in front of him that he kept him from passing. And it'll be Flip who has the most points here, but Numbskull will be joining him in what we will call the Ultimate Finals. Fantastic racing by these guys. But it'll be Flip and Numbskull moving on, and they will be joining Chase Family and EP in the Ultimate Finals. We'll see who the other 4 will be next time. Thank you so much. In the last video, half of our Grand Finals racers have competed, and out of those 8, 4 moved on, and now, in day number 10, it is time for the other half to compete. Which 4 will move on? We shall see. But for now, let's recap who's in the first group. We have 22, Dusty Miles, 3.84 ounces. Number 18, Killa Kowalski, 3.19 ounces. Number 58, Daryl Abdullah, 1.26 ounces. And number 57, Noob, at 3.2 ounces. Now at this point, when we first got to the Grand Finals, we had 4 racers that were completely undefeated, never lost a single race. And at this point there's 3 left because one of them, Chase Family, got dethroned in the last video we had. That being said, Chase Family did still move on, so they have a chance at winning all their remaining races. But the other three are going to compete today, and one of them is right here, Killer Kowalski. And so far, it looks like they will keep that streak alive as they are launching ahead of the other players without much of an issue. And they get that first win. And honestly, that looked like a faster time than 15.11. But they got the first place, and right now, that's all that matters. Yeah, the other two undefeated racers at this point will be competing in the last group. But so far, Killer Kowalski looks like he will remain undefeated if he keeps up the racing he's already been doing. Meanwhile, Noob, despite the name, is no noob, as they are, in fact, here in the grand finals. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that their car is... I think that's a DeLorean, based on Back to the Future, but I could very well be wrong. Right now, though, in this second race, Killer Kowalski does have the lead. The lane merger has happened, and we're getting into this next stretch, and it seems like Kowalski is expanding that lead more and more. They're approaching the final turn. And no other racer, I was about to say no other racer is in sight, but here comes Dusty, trying to catch him. Will he be able to? No! Killer Kowalski wins again and keeps that streak alive. But Dusty does finish in second again, so that's still helpful, because as long as you finish in the top two, you will move on to the Ultimate Finals, which will be the next video we have. And I believe will be the final video in this particular tournament. While on the subject, though, our next tournament will also be a mail-in, this time with custom Mario Kart characters. So if you want to compete in that tournament, be sure to look at the Races and Fun Facebook page. You may still have time to put in an entry if you wish to do so. For now, we'll look back at this race, and once again, Killer Kowalski has the lead. But Dusty is not that far behind. In fact, I think he's trying to close the gap right now as we get into this lane merger. But so far, it looks like Kowalski is trying to keep that lead, but he spins around, loses that speed, and Dusty's trying to pass him, but Kowalski is blocking him as they get into that next turn. Sometimes they can pass at the last second, and that is what counts. But then Dusty spins around and loses that speed, and Kowalski finishes him first yet again. Daryl almost actually got second place, but because of the positioning by Dusty, it did not happen. It got very close though, showing that you should never give up until the race itself is actually over. But so far, everyone's been relatively consistent, and Kowalski has already punched his way into the Ultimate Finals. It's just a matter of who will be joining them. And Killer Kowalski is still undefeated, and if they can win this race right here, they will remain undefeated as they get into the top 8 of the entire tournament. Which is no small feat to do, because so far no one has been able to do that. And the only undefeated racer so far, before Killer Kowalski competing, lost that streak. But Killer Kowalski is going into that last stretch and no one can touch him. Killer Kowalski is going into the Ultimate Finals completely undefeated with a fantastic time of 14.4. A major threat to be sure. And it looks like Dusty is going to be joining him. But here comes Daryl. A very slow finish, but the fact that they finished is nothing to sneeze at all. It's definitely better than not finishing, and some racers in this tournament never finished even once. But a 14.4, not quite the fastest time, that is very close. So far as I can remember, Blue Line Racing still has the fastest time at 13.99. So there was less than a half-second difference, actually. But yeah, Dusty and Killer Kowalski will be moving on to the Ultimate Finals, and now we only have 2 slots left to fill. And one of these 4, actually 2 of these 4, are undefeated. Will they keep that streak alive? It's hard to tell, because only one of them can do it. One of them will have to lose here. Cooper Vitone at 1.3 ounces, Cape Fear at 3.3, and I unfortunately missed the other 2, but when I introduced them the first time they raced, I made sure to point out their stats. So I apologize I missed it this time, but hey, the fact that you're in the grand finals, that is a big achievement. And right off the bat, Blue Line Racing takes a big lead. And he gets into that first turn, and no one is anywhere near him already. Blue Line is showing why he has kept the title of the fastest time so far. Again, as far as I can remember. And they do start to fishtail a little bit, but they get into that last stretch, no one anywhere close. And they actually start skidding sideways across the finish line, and despite all that, they still finished with a decent 14.8. And they did finish in first, so their undefeated streak is remaining intact. Meanwhile, Cape Fear, the only other undefeated racer left that hasn't competed up until now, their streak is done. It'll be Blue Line and Killa Kowalski so far, the only two racers at this point that have not lost a race. That being said, these racers are still really tough, and sticking it in there, or rather keeping it up, I have no idea what I'm saying. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes my mouth is faster than my brain. But while we're on the subject of speed, once again, Blue Line Racing has a huge lead. No one anywhere close, although it looked like Cape Fear is trying to make something happen. They did finish in second in that first race, looks like they might do it again. And Blue Line Racing finishes in first yet again, keeping that streak alive. And they finish with a 14.41. That's about what Killa Kowalski finished with before. Meanwhile, Cooper finishes in fourth. And I think, yeah, Cape Fear finished in second. Man, these guys are really good, but at the same time, if you don't finish in the top two, your journey ends here. Meanwhile, Blue Line, excuse me, just needs one more win, and they will stamp their spot in the Ultimate Finals. I don't know what they do to get that early start, but it's definitely helping them, to be sure. But Cooper and Bayou definitely need to make something happen if they want to keep their hopes alive. They have to finish in that front of Cape Fear at the very least. And so far, they've been struggling to do so. The Blue Line has been alone this entire competition so far, and they finished in first yet again. That streak is still standing. And they've already stamped their spot in the Ultimate Finals. And it's very much looking good for Cape Fear. And did somebody not even finish? Oh my goodness, a lot of racers get stuck on that last turn, and it looks like we have another instance of that happening here. You definitely don't want that happening in the grand finals, though. Yeah, Cooper did not even finish. That is a shocker. Looks like their journey in this competition will end here, but the fact that they made it this far, they should definitely be happy. I definitely would be, even if I did lose. But Blue Line Racing is looking to keep that streak alive at this point, as they're already in the Ultimate Final, and it looks like they will do that already. Because basically, any time they've raced so far, as far back as I can remember, once they have that lead, they never lose it. Even at the very beginning, no one is able to pass them. And that certainly stays true here. And as we get into the Ultimate Finals, Blue Line Racing and Cape Fear will be moving on. And out of the top 8 racers that we will have, oh my goodness, another non-finish. Definitely not how you want to go out. But again, because you made it to the grand finals, you should definitely be happy with how well you did. But yes, Blue Line Racing and Cape Fear will be joining the top 8, and so far, we now have 2 racers that are still undefeated. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the Ultimate Finals. Many racers have competed. Many racers have fallen, but 8 still remain. Hey everybody, welcome to the Ultimate Finals of the Mail-In Tournament. Here's the first group of the top 8. It'll be EP Videos, Chase, Killa, and Dusty. And out of those 4, one of them is still undefeated, that being Killa Kowalski. That being said, none of these other three are slouches either. 51 EP videos at 3.25 ounces. Killa Kowalski, 3.19 ounces. Number 6, Chase Family, 2.7 ounces. And number 22, Dusty Miles, 3.84 ounces. These four are beasts on the track. None of them are slouches, so this ought to be a great competition. But only 2 of them will move on to the final round of this tournament. Who will it be? Let's find out right now. At the start of this first race, they're all relatively neck and neck. As we get into the lane merger though, Chase Family did have a slight lead, but they lost so much speed out of nowhere. And they quickly went from first to fourth. And Killa Kowalski is now in first place after this final turn. EP is trying to catch him and is unable to. And Killa keeps the undefeated streak alive. I don't know what happened to Chase Family, but that is not the results they would have wanted. I am sure of it. Killa Kowalski does take a bit of a tumble there, but they are still in first, still never losing a race, and they have 3 more in this group to keep that alive. Chase was dethroned as an undefeated racer before, and I'm sure they'd love to do that to Killa Kowalski now. But in order to do that, they cannot have moments where they lose so much speed like that. Into the second race, though, they're all once again relatively close together. But it looks like Killa Kowalski once again has that lead, and Chase is falling behind again. Killa Kowalski seems to have slingshotted themselves a little bit forward. And it looks like they will get the second win. Will they be able to? Yes! Killa Kowalski is still undefeated, and this time, Chase finished in second. That is a much-needed improvement. We'll have to see how this affects the scores in a moment here. Despite Killa Kowalski's undefeated streak so far, they still haven't grabbed the fastest time, which is held by our other undefeated racer, Blue Line Racing, at 13.99. Killa just needs one more race, one more win, to move on to the final round. And they do take a slight lead at the beginning, and as the lanes split, does he still have the lead? It looks like he does, but Chase is coming up fast, followed not so slowly actually, very quickly by Dusty, and Killa is still holding on to that streak. They're getting close to the last turn, and Killa Kowalski has a big enough lead that even if he slows down a little bit, he will grab that third win. Killa Kowalski will be in the final round. And they finished with a 14.9. That is slightly better, but still not quite the fastest time. So far, people have been struggling to break that 14-second mark, and I think only one person has been able to do so. Here we go, the final race. 2 racers will have their journey end here, and 2 will move on to the last part of the video. Right now, Killa Kowalski will already be there. But when it comes to the other racers, I think they might all be tied, actually, because they've all finished in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at least once. I think they all have 6 points right now, based on that scoreboard up there. So whoever finishes in front of the other 2 will be moving on, and it looks like it'll be Chase Family. And not only that, but Chase Family at the last moment has dethroned Killa Kowalski as an undefeated racer. Kowalski almost had it, but Chase denied it. He figured, if I can't be undefeated, you can't either. But Chase Family got that win, allowing him to move on with Killa. And now there's only one undefeated racer left. But in this next group is number 16 Flip, 3.5 ounces. Number 29 Blue Line Racing, 3.98 ounces, still undefeated. Number 11 Numbskull, 3.98 ounces. And number 27 Cape Fear Racing at 3.3. Some of these racers have been undefeated before, such as Cape Fear, but Blue Line Racing is the only one who has not lost a race yet. That could change in this group like it did for Killa, but we will have to see. So far they do have that lead. but Flip is very close behind. Sometimes this stretch is what makes all the difference, as they somehow will be able to gain a lot of speed, and it looks like that's the case for Blue Line. They get into the last turn, and no one is anywhere near them as they approach the finish line, and they get another win, finishing with a 14.87. Even Blue Line has been struggling to break that 14-second mark again, but they still have the title of the fastest time. And I think Flip was the one who finished in second there. Yep. Flip in second, Numbskull in third, and Cape Fear in fourth. Cape Fear was undefeated at one point, but that is not the case anymore. Beginning off the second race, Blue Line does have a slight lead, but all four are staying relatively close together here. As they get into the lane split though, Blue Line is suddenly taking off, and Flip is trying to catch him as well as Numbskull. But as they get into that lane merger again, they start falling behind once more as Blue Line is approaching that last stretch. It looks like they might have spun out a little bit. They're going sideways and now backwards. And it looks like no one is undefeated anymore. Blue Line was all set to get that win, but then they spun around, lost speed, Flip saw the opportunity, and no one will be coming out of this tournament completely undefeated. Everyone's undefeated streak is done. So the only title Blue Line has to their name now is the fastest time. They might still be able to be the ultimate champion though at the end, but they will not be able to say they did it with an undefeated streak. The ultimate hat trick would be to have the fastest time, never lose a race, and be the ultimate champion, which I believe happened in our last tournament. But in this one, Blue Line will not be undefeated, but they might still be able to get the championship and the fastest time, and they did win this time, allowing them to get the lead back in points. Meanwhile, Flip finished in second. It's looking very good for him. As for Numbskull and Cape Fear though, they've been going back and forth, but for third and fourth place, it's going to be very difficult for them to catch back up at this point. Because Blue Line has 13, Flip has 11, Numbskull has 5, and Cape Fear has 4. So I don't think it's possible for Numbskull or Cape Fear to move on, but the fact that they got to the Ultimate Finals is absolutely incredible. Meanwhile, Blue Line Racing is going into that last turn, and no one is anywhere near them, but they did lose some speed before, so I wouldn't have been surprised if that happened now. And they actually got so close to breaking the 14-second mark, only off by about 0.2 of a second. But they will be moving on. Numbskull did finish in second. I don't think it's going to be enough though. It will not, as Blue Line and Flip are now in the final round, which will start right here, right now, not wasting any time. 3 of these racers out of the 4 had gone into the grand finals undefeated, but now all 3 of them have been dethroned. So now the question remains, who will be the ultimate champion? Right now, Blue Line Racing has the lead, but Killer Kowalski is no slouch, trying to stay on his tail. But there goes Blue Line Racing. Oh, look at that! I thought Killer Kowalski was further back, but I guess not. And now Blue Line is kind of shaking up a little bit, and Killer Kowalski is trying to find an opening, but cannot get it as Blue Line finishes in first for the first race of the final round. It's definitely looking good for Blue Line, but Killer Kowalski is not too far back. Any one of these racers could come out of nowhere and be the ultimate champion. Your ultimate champion is somewhere on this screen right now, and so far that's leaning in favor to Blue Line. As we begin the second race, Blue Line does have a slight lead, but all 4 are remaining relatively close. Blue Line is trying to extend their lead as much as they can. As they get into the lane merger, it looks like that will happen, as the gap keeps widening here, and they get into that next stretch. The other 3 racers are staying relatively close together, but Blue Line is the one who has the lead. They do spin around again, and that cost them their streak before, but not this time. They do finish in first once again. If Blue Line can finish one more time in first place, they will be the ultimate champion. Unfortunately for Flip, however, they somehow flipped over, staying true to their name, and they did not finish at all, pretty much keeping their chances of winning the ultimate championship out of reach. In the third race now, Blue Line just needs one more win here, and they will automatically be crowned the champion. If they can finish in front of the other three, that will happen. As long as they can stay fast and straight, that will be the case, but that could change at any moment. These racers are good, so we'll see if they can keep that streak alive. I'm at a loss for words right now because of what's happening, and they do spin out. Killer Kowalski tries to catch him and can't, and Blue Line Racing will be your ultimate champion of the mail-in tournament. At this point, this next race will just be a victory lap for them. Your Chase family has 5, Flip has 4, and Killer Kowalski, I believe, has 9. Oh no, they have 8. For some reason I thought they finished in second all 3 times, but no, that is not the case here. So now it's just a race to decide who will finish in what position behind Blue Line Racing. Who will get the silver medal, who will get 3rd, and who will get 4th. So far, Blue Line Racing is looking to keep the sweep, at least in the finals, alive, and they will at least take that streak home with them. And Blue Line Racing almost got the fastest time yet again, got it even closer there. But ladies and gentlemen, we have our champion. It will be Blue Line Racing. Killer Kowalski in 2nd, Flip in 3rd, and Chase in 4th. Fantastic racing by everybody. So congratulations to Blue Line Racing. Your grand prize will be sent your way very soon. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next tournament with Mario Kart mail-ins. Thanks for watching.